Um, uh, 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 y'all go ahead.
No, we're gonna wait for you to keep fucking
Now
up.
you supposed to have your game tight, bro. How you walk on the court, start say let's play 1-on-1, then when the game start, nah, let me get some more shots up real quick. That's what you doing.
I didn't know we was playing no game. We were talking about.
Why you playing, man? All right, okay.
We were talking about what's the name? We were talking about.
I'm saying you was ready. You was ready to. What I meant by that is you were making an argument that you was confident in, and you saying it as if you do it off the top. So now when a person, check what you saying, you saying, let me go back to the lab. I thought you was already on point.
So I can't get some more exact language?
I don't think you wouldn't have done that if nobody would have said something. That's all I'm saying. You said it as if you was confident in what you were saying. Now you timid now. You like, let me go back to the shooting gun real quick. I don't trust my jumper.
You sound so timid. You funny.
I mean, like Ben Simmons right now.
I ain't gonna pass up no layup, nigga. Alright, shit. That nigga Ben was tripping.
Yeah, they said he some teams looking at him. I say he got his athleticism back.
You see that nigga all swole up and shit?
I'll pick him up. I'll scoop up Ben Simmons.
Oh, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, yeah.
Simmons.
Now, I finished looking at the video. It sounds like he's actually discouraging the FBA from doing the same thing that he do when it comes. He's saying don't romanticize and bring your emotions into the description of history. That's exactly what he's saying, almost word for word. When we know that he's very guilty of doing that himself. You disagree with that?
No, say it again. I was looking up some shit to cook Fetty. What'd you say?
Oh, okay. I mean, I could move out the way of that, but I'm saying James Smalls was saying he was telling the FBA people could not do exactly what he does when it comes to FBA people who romanticize the history.
Yeah, he going at the FBA and the Black Americans who say they ain't got nothing to do with Africa. That was the main shit that he was doing. The Olmec shit was some side shit.
I mean, it was and it wasn't at the same time. I don't know why he would mention that. I don't know why he would mention it at all if it's a part of the side, because that would actually negate everything else that he's saying, right? If
because I know it ain't nothing but push.
If it was true, it actually wouldn't be romanticizing it, now would it?
Man, y'all just want to smoke with that man, bro. The main point the man was making, dog, is that we've been calling ourselves Africans since the 1700s with the African Episcopal Church, the African Baptist Church, the first Masonic Lodge being called. That's his main point. So all them FBA motherfuckers would talk about we ain't no Africans and blah 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 blah. That was the main shit that he was attacking. The Olmec shit and all that. That's some side shit, Logic. Come on, man. I know y'all just want to cook this man, dog. Any opportunity, just you like Terminator, dog.
No, I don't necessarily want to cook him, but I definitely know he's dangerous right now. I probably am secretly more interested in proving how he's dangerous rather than like sitting here trying to sift through some of the things that he accidentally said right on accident. But in this particular case, I'm just simply saying that he's telling the FBA people not to romanticize the African history, don't bring their emotions into it. But that's exactly what he do when it comes to Africa.
Oh my God!
You agree with him though about the whole black folks claiming Africa way before Jesse Jackson and all that? Like, you agree with that part though, right?
I do.
All right, so shit, it's all gravy. All that other shit, you could
So what's spectacular?
that's water off a duck back, man. All that Olmec shit, water off a duck back, man.
Oh, so because he said the one thing right, all the other stuff he said wrong, he get a pass for it. He on the right track. He on the right track because of the one thing he said right. When the other 29 minutes was just some straight BS.
No, you got the
Oh,
ratio. You got the ratio backwards, man. The 90% was the African shit. The 10% was the Olmec shit. Come on, man. You just wanna. The minute you heard Olmec, nigga, you
bro,
motherfucking went into
he
Terminator
said
mode, nigga. The screen went straight red, nigga. All you heard
suggested
was
that people read a book called A Black Mexican Dog. The Black Mexican. And then if you listen closely enough, I actually heard him say that we've
no,
been hold up, hold up,
Brad. I
hold up,
mean,
Pastor.
Logic,
You gotta catch this part. You gotta catch this part. Because he had a
but
slip
Logic,
in
the
there,
Black
right?
Mexican book
He
is
said,
about black folks mixing with them Native Americans. That's what
listen,
he's saying.
he said that we had been sailing to these places for thousands of years, right? So in one breath, he acknowledges that we not the indigenous people, right? But some kind of way, we also the all, right? We some kind of way, we also.
No, you're not listening good, bruh. He's saying that the majority of them people, even if they were black or from Africa, the majority of them were wiped out before our people who came via the slave ship even came to North America. Did you miss that part? Did you miss that part, Logic? So even if the Olmec shit is bullshit,
No,
let's say they not no African.
he said something about the whole reason why they went back to go get some more people is because the original ones was killed off, right?
Right,
That's exactly what he said, right?
right. But
He did
he's
he didn't
clear.
say, he didn't say those original people was the Asiatic people. He's saying that they was African people.
Yes, he is saying that.
Right. So
But he
if the next sentence, then he goes and says, well, we've been sailing back and forth for years. Well, how was we the original people then? That's double talking.
no is no. Clearly, when he says we, Logic, he's using it very broadly to say Africans, right? Black Africans, right? That's what he means by we. So when he says that there were a group of black Africans that sailed here or were here prior to Columbus, but then they got wiped out by disease, war, famine, et cetera, right? Then those Europeans went to Africa to replenish the people that they lost. And then that would be quote unquote us. And by us, at this point, he's using it more specifically to say the black people in America. Does that make sense?
What you said makes sense, but you didn't say what he said.
That what he said. That's what he didn't articulate it like me, but that's what he's saying. So even if you believe
Right.
that,
If he didn't let it like you, he didn't say what you said. But you know, I ain't gonna fight you. I think we started to get closer and closer. I just want you to acknowledge that in there he actually said that he acknowledged that we've been sailing back and forth for thousands of years. You remember him
oh,
saying
well, no, that's for a fact. That's for a fact
okay.
he's saying that.
Okay. All right, cool. So every time he makes mentions about us being the all max, he's actually just wrong, right?
No, but
Based
be
on that.
clear. No, he's not. He's not. His whole point is that we're not the Olmecs. He's saying that even though the Olmecs were black African, right, and we're also black African, we were not from that group. That group got wiped out. That's what he's saying. I'm not putting words. That's what he's saying.
Okay, but if he's saying that those people are black African and that group got wiped out,
Uh-huh.
well, then if they black African, then they us, bro. I don't know how you
in a
kind of
broad
missing that part.
in a broad sense, sure. But the whole point of him pointing that out is to say to the FBA people who make the claim that we've always been here and we've always blah blah blah. He's saying that no, most of our people are here, right, as recent arrivals from West and Central Africa. You agree that he is saying that, right? Regardless of if the Olmec were black and if they're broadly black like us, he's clearly making a delineation that our people, black Americans, black Jamaicans, etc., are chiefly here due to the transatlantic slave trade. He's clearly saying that. You agree with that part at least, right?
I didn't hear him. I don't think I heard him put the kind of effort into distinguishing the black Africans away from each other, like how you are. Maybe I didn't hear that when I listened to it halfway through the first time, and I just listened to the other half a couple minutes ago, and I ain't making them kind of distinctions. I might have he might have veered off at times, but he also came back to, you know what I'm saying, that we was there. That's how I remember it. And you know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody else who heard it could say, you know, could referee this and say, nah, one of us heard it wrong. But from how I heard him, he was absolutely talking about those black Africans being us at times in the conversation, and then some other times that we've been using the label African, and we arrived here by ship at other times. So that's how I got it. It was confusing. That's why I don't listen to him. Somebody else come off mute and tell me why I messed up. I don't want to just be deadlocked with Haskell. You know what I'm saying? Then, you know, one of us, we're gonna be talking about one of us confused. I want to hear somebody else's opinion on what they heard and if I heard it wrong.
Well, from the video, I say chronologically, you got to follow Dr. Smalls. Over the years of just hearing his teachings, we understand when he's being broad and then when he's being specific. And he does interchange throughout the conversation, but it falls upon the person, you know, the comprehend and catch when he's been in the broad sense and when he's been specific. What Haskell said, how he does delineate where he doesn't run from saying that the Olmecs were dark-skinned Africans, but they're not part of the group that we descend from. He's showing the chronological order of it. I know it's confusing just at the broad sense, but when you're being specific, it does make sense.
All right. Yeah, I got you. I just think James Smalls don't know what the hell he talking about.
Well, you know, I know the behind the scenes. I remember the first Hell in a Cell match when you pulled him out the casket, then he chokeslammed him.
Did you interview him?
Hey, that's what I'm saying, Fetty. That's why I already know about the past, what's going on. So
he had none of this energy though.
Should have cooked that man, bro. Should have cooked him, man.
You're right. You're right, Fetty. I should have cooked.
He ain't want no pressure with that man.
I should have had the grease ready when he came to the show.
Hey, Fetty, he ain't want a DQ. He ain't Logic ain't want no pressure with that man, bro. He was calling that man Bob. He was calling that man Baba DQ.
Hey, Haskell,
he did the Ngozi, Haskell. He did the Ngozi.
This is why I gotta make sure I gotta stand there with my boy Logic. There was a lot. It was confusing to all of us, but behind the scenes, you know, there was some shit that, you know, Logic wanted to battle with. You know, he did want to take him down, but pause. That was crazy work. He did want to slaughter him on the shit. That's even worse. Damn it. Y'all know what he's trying to do, but in the heat of battle, he was like, you know, I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna let the man speak because, you know, that's just respect. You know what I'm saying? But don't think Logic didn't want to take him out. But, you know, now in hindsight, you know, he can look how he want to do it. But that was the goal, but it just didn't go that way, man.
Yeah, basically what y'all asking, y'all saying I should have did, and I agree. Y'all saying I should have said, hey, I'm gonna invite you on for this interview. But in my mind, I'm actually finna debate you. That's actually what y'all saying secretly I should have did. Don't interview just straight flambe him from
No,
jump.
but he came. You could give
Tell him
pushback.
it's an interview just to get him on the show. And then when he get on the show, don't let up on nothing he say, right? But if I could do it again, I would. I tell you that. As crazy as it sounds, I definitely wouldn't have that.
You could reach
kind
out to him. We could make that happen. But look, you listen. Regardless of how pseudo you might think a person like a James Small is, he been around a long time. He done came in contact with a lot of people. He's actually taught as a professor at university, right? So even if you think he's scamming or whatever, he has a lot of information. So what that means is if you're gonna, push back against a person like that, you gotta really be thorough with your information and know what you're talking about. And I think you realize that even let's say Smalls is a pseudo, right? But he's like a prime Mike Tyson pseudo.
Yeah, he's a seasoned veteran. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened with Logic. He realized like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, this nigga bigger than he look on TV. Like he you know what I'm talking about?
Nah.
Yeah, he ain't want that smoke.
It's stupid. Haskell's retarded, man. Nah, man. Respect to James Small. Once you understand where you got the information from, you can see, why they say it. That came before Columbus it shook the world, son. I'd have certainly shook the world with that book. So, a lot of people still hang on to that. Oh, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people still hang on to that because some people don't move on the paradigm if I write 8 great papers and 2 bad ones, then you just trash. Some people really look at the 80% and be like, I'm still gonna rock with you. So everybody don't throw out of inserting away. So I can respect that.
Now look, DQ, if he suggested that you go read Ivan Van Sertima, right? How is he saying that those Omax is not us? You get that? Get that?
No, I get that, but you're not getting the chronological order. He's saying yes, it's us as in Africans, Black Africans. That's not the same stock as where we descended from.
Oh, okay.
Like Logic, that's not that complicated. You playing now, bro. You gotta be playing.
I am not playing, bro.
Damn.
I'm not
all
playing.
Right. Hey, pull up the skin map.
Ivan Van Sertima was definitely trying to link. He was definitely trying to say that those indigenous people were the same Africans, right? Look, I don't know. Maybe that's me. That's why it sounds confusing to me. But you definitely you helped me remember that he actually said that in that 24 minutes.
That's actually not what Van Sertima said. Have you ever read the book?
Hell no, I ain't reading that crap. But what does he say? What does he say?
Right.
You clean it up. Tell me where I'm messing it up.
Sertima posits a theory that says that Africans came here a long time ago and actually mixed with people that were already here. So he posits that the Olmecs were actually a composite people, a mixed group of people. That's his
theory. Okay. Yep. So we infiltrated their bloodline, stayed behind, and we just darkened them up. That was basically what Van Sertima said. We came through.
No, not at all. They was actually dark also. Like I say, that falls within
there's no cultural component to what Van Sertima was saying at all. He's just completely making a genetic argument.
Well, he made majority of his shit off phenotypical observations, and then he went into I think he tried to go to literature rap, but that was hard. But then they tied it in with cultural connections. But the majority of his shit was just phenotypical observations.
Right. So when he's talking about cultural connections, he's definitely talking about those Africans sort of retaining some of the indigenous practices, not from the original island, the Olmec Island, right? He talking about they not only did they mix with them, but they Africanized them, right? Basically.
Olmec Island.
Yeah, I almost forgot the name of the Olmec Island.
I didn't know
You
them
think
niggas
about
had an island. Niggas said Olmec
but
Island.
DQ, cause you know the Abos be calling America Turtle Island. I think that's what Logic he heard that somewhere and he kind
He
of
ain't that deep. Nah, he ain't that deep yet. Don't even put that up loud. He ain't even don't even open that hallway yet. We chilling. We at a good point right now.
hey that Abo wormhole is a motherfucker, man. I'm telling you.
Motherfucker. Tell you, bro. I didn't use so much motherfucking rope pulling my cousin back. Like I didn't even know I had this much rope. I didn't like nigga shit. That motherfucker different.
You still claiming to be a Indian?
Partial because he did find some motherfucking facts. This the cousin I told you that traced this shit back like to the fucking 1500s on his mama's side.
Yeah.
Like some old white lady. Like I said, bro, don't nobody get that far back. You different, nigga. So
That's
he traced
crazy.
this shit back. So he understands that all right, I was part of this lineage but one of his lineages was Indian. He did realize that shit. But the rest of them, he had to be like, all right, nigga, African. Granny was mad white. Like, so he just had to acquiesce to the information.
That's what's up, man. So he got a genealogist then. He worked with a genealogist and
he one of them niggas who will literally pay the annual full subscription for like 3 different shits and like email the companies. That's my cousin different. So now he got some shit. He got some records.
damn, that's tight, bro.
That nigga got some records.
I was gonna say, if y'all brothers ain't never tried Ancestry.com, just something as simple as that can help you find like cousins all over the country, all types of shit.
Bro,
you can create your own family tree.
That's what he did, bro. That nigga went mad stupid on that hoe. Like paid for the premium account.
Yeah, that shit work. Yeah, I tried the premium account. Yeah, it recommends you. It actually compares like the records you got on the joint and give you a more refined one to where like on certain joints it made you say Negro born, but on this one they recommended for you. It got the same relatives but with more details, photos. That shit fire. All you really got to do is find a family member of yours who like you said, deep interest in that shit. Follow them on there and just look at their tree, and that shit will come to you like that. Damn.
Haskell, I didn't tell you, bro, nigga. I met a great uncle. Two uncles and 2 aunties that I met this year because of that DNA shit, nigga. I found out who my real dad's dad is off that shit, bro.
Yo, me too, DQ, bro. Me too, bro. That shit fucked me up. I never met my grandfather, and I'm looking at this nigga like I know where this nigga live and everything. I'm about to run down on this.
That's crazy.
Yes, bro, nigga. I had an auntie. It's wild, bro. My aunt Misha. We did the DNA shit, bro. This lady popped up. We shared like, I think it was it 19? It had to be like 19% DNA with this chick, bro. And we like, bro, who the fuck is this bitch? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right.
I was gonna say that shit might mess up a lot of family secrets, right? That shit, I know that ancestry probably.
Fetty,
a lot of motherfuckers had that sit down.
Fetty, that shit unlock a Pandora's box, nigga. And so, boom, we like, who is this lady? How the fuck we share this much DNA? Come to find out, whoopty whoop on that side, that's actually my auntie. She found out that by knowing my sister was a NFL cheerleader, whoop whoop, they was talking, made the connections. We contacted her. Bro, found out I got 3 uncles and 2 other aunties, bro. I had a great uncle who lived in the same neighborhood that I stayed in when I was a kid. That nigga was around the corner. I never knew. That shit, bro, is wild, bro.
That's one thing we got to get better. I ain't gonna say all black families like that, but it's like the older family relatives be knowing some shit, bro. And you gotta like do all that just to get, you feel me? Get a clear answer. Like it's a lot. It'd be a lot of family secrets, like a lot of black families in life.
You can't hide
back in the day, bro. There was a lot of shit going on.
Facts. But no, that shit's wild, bro. But a whole nother family connection that I'm connected to. And then me and my great uncle We on deck now. This nigga got a boat, RV, nigga, 9 barbecue pits. I was like, oh no, we about to turn up, nigga.
And I saw some motherfuckers who said they found cousins in Africa. I'm like, how? Like,
because they signed up. Like if they are part of that system, that's why I love the African ancestry, because that shit grows every time. I get a notification when I got a new cousin in fucking Canton, Ohio. I be like, man, what the fuck? Shit lit. You know what I'm saying? But it's just more people submitting, and yeah, that's a genetic
that's a
connection.
fact.
Because
Yep.
they say I'm Balanta Mindi tribe from Guinea-Bissau. That's where majority of my connections was hitting it. So
Okay.
yeah, that shit deep. What? Genetics. Niggas think they can run from that shit. Hell nah.
We're around that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like black people mixed in with Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if y'all ever seen when Snoop was on what's that Mexican show, the comedian, and he found out he was 25% Native American, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I always
Damn.
knew that about Snoop. Like, since the first day I came to America when I was 13, 14 years old, the first time I saw Snoop, I'm like, that nigga looked like a black ass Indian. Like his features, his hair, it was very obvious, like from day one. Like I could literally see it in his face. So that wasn't no shock. Like, yeah, black folks here are mixed with Indian, but motherfuckers just take it to a whole level. Like, come on, y'all doing too much though. Like,
Take it to the extreme. I think I was
yeah,
1.3. It's 1.3 or 0.3% Native American. And that's why I was like, we got to dead all that Indian talk. Like dead it all. Nigga, I'm more Irish than anything, nigga, than African. I mean, I'm more African than anything, but I'm Irish more than anything. That shit funny as hell.
that's what killed me. Like with the Abo niggas, right? So what about the British side or the Irish side, the white side? Why y'all
Exactly.
don't claim
They
that?
don't believe a real Abo don't believe in DNA. They don't believe in DNA, so you can't get them with that shit.
Yeah, he ain't lying. And when you a sophisticated abo, you got to throw DNA out the box. You don't even let them fight with it. You don't even let them fight.
Right.
What a nigga say,
They a real Abo, you gotta fight them with genealogy. They only accept
that's
genealogy,
it. They
nothing
only
else.
respect genealogy. There you go. He is not lying. What a nigga say in the battle, you want to beat a supervillain? You got to strip him of his power first. That's exactly what they do, nigga. They take that DNA off the table. Oh shit.
That's a good strategy though.
Dog, and my cousin did it with me, and I had to go, nigga. I had to go insurance records on cargo ships route on his ass. Because he tried to tell me slave ships didn't exist, and I had to show him they were called cargo ships and the insurance claims over. Like, the niggas, when they say they just want genealogy, that's all they want, bro. You got to bring some papers.
I feel them on that to an extent because when it comes to like chemical analysis, right? When you start dealing with molecules, that stuff you could very you can manipulate it.
There
You
we
feel what I'm saying?
go. There we go.
No.
Blackology paranoia. There it go.
No. Regardless of whether or not I believe that it is manipulated or not, right? Like like me, for example, as a blackologist, right? If I were to go be a geneticist, right? Let's say I go get a degree in genetics. I'm a geneticist, right? I can craft together a DNA analysis that would make me 80% Native American. Like there's a way to do that. You get what I'm saying, Fetty? Like I can manipulate.
Nope. I don't know.
You don't think a really skilled geneticist who understands the system could craft things together and
Who would I'm saying like what would be the incentive for that person?
they want to claim that they're that they're indigenous to America. So let's say I'm an abo, right? And I want to prove that black people always been here, right? And I believe it so much to the point where I go to school, I get a degree, right? And I become a geneticist, right? And I know how to manipulate the tests and move shit around and label shit certain shit and use a splice here. You know what I'm saying? Like I could
Nigga said he
literally,
used a splice here.
yeah, splice here, a splice here, a splice there. I can craft a what was the thing that they use? What's the name they call it? Like a what do they call it? The parental markers again, Fetty? The uniparental markers? Why did
Somebody why happened group in your mitochondria?
yeah, like the haplogroups or whatever, right? Like if I'm an abo, but I'm actually educated, I can manipulate some shit that'll make it say that I'm 80% Native American. Like, do you believe that that is possible? Like, you can do that if you know what you're doing.
I mean, there's so many factors that go into that. I think on the individual test, for one, I don't. So you saying a person who works for essentially 23andMe, I don't see a person having that.
I'm saying if a person had the equipment outside of the confines of, let's say, their work or whatever, right? They can buy, like, remember, because whatever you get out of a test depends on the parameters that you set. You would agree with that, right?
And the samples that you have with that particular company.
Right. So I could take a particular sample from something, and then I can isolate a certain section of the genome and say that this section equals this. So if therefore I can test my DNA and that small section conforms with that, then it equals you get what I'm saying? Like you can move shit around.
That takes a lot of work, bro. I think there's a 0% chance of someone going that hard. Like you said, a lot of things are possible, but those are like drastic leaps ultimately to prove what. Because I mean, depending on what company it is, they can lose their credibility off something like that. And like looking at samples, it's a lot of cross referencing. So like, yeah, they can tweak their shit all they want, but that ain't going to negate the fact that if that person really was going to take a DNA test, it can find. So that you just bringing up like a motherfucker who on some wow shit.
Well, like for example, when they did that analysis with the gene in Egypt the other day, the last one they
knew it. I knew it. Shulamite. Right. I knew it. I knew you was gonna bring up that.
It's the first thing that comes. It's the first thing that comes to mind, right? So now, regardless of whether or not you agree with why they did this, you can't disagree that they did in fact do it, right? So when they analyze the sample,
Why did those, what was it, STR? You talking about the STR PCAs, talking about like the Great Lakes and all of that.
Yeah, I think the Neurot man, I think it was STR that they. I can't remember. The point I'm making though is, you can tell the computer to say, okay, analyze these two specimens, right? But assume that Asia has nothing to do with this. Take it out of the analysis. Now run the computer to include all other regions to see which region this sample most closely matches, excluding Asia or excluding Europe, or you get what I'm saying? So now when you get the results back, it's only going to give you the results within the parameters that you set up. So if I'm an abo and I wanted to prove that I'm 80% Indian, I could get my own sample, right? Presumably get a sample from a man who we know to be Native American from, like, I don't know, let's say the 1500s or some shit, right? Let's say you just happen to have that sample, right? And then you can run it in the PCA, but the parameters you set up is only compare it with Native American genes in the gene database.
Yeah, you're just talking about limited proxies. So
no, hold on, let me finish what I'm saying though.
All right, go ahead.
So I listen, let's say I'm the abo, right? I'm looking for a desired outcome because I want to be an Indian and I want to prove that I'm an Indian using genetics, right? So I could get a sample from a known Indian from the 1500s, get my sample, put it in a computer, but tell the computer, hey, exclude everything else but Native Americans, right? So then when the computer comes back and says, oh, this is 90% American, excuse me, Native American, I can then present that and say, see, I did genetic analysis. I'm a Native American. But I don't necessarily tell you that I told a computer to ignore any other thing that it could possibly be related to. You
Right,
get what
right. I
I'm
see what
saying?
you're saying. Yeah, yeah. That's
Right.
why I was saying the limited process for that. Like I said, they proxy, like they took one proxy out to control for certain population. So I feel like with that level, they can take like what individual, I don't know, it's like an individual case like that. It's like what's the
You muffled, Eddie.
all the person how to do, look at the methodology they did. So like, are you
Breaking up. You're real muffled and breaking up,
oh,
Fetty.
shit. Oh, shit. You can hear me now?
Yeah, you sound better now.
Yeah, I was saying, I see what you're saying, like individually in an individual case by case. I mean, I guess that's possible, but I don't want to apply that same thing to like a company or a group to say we can't trust 23andMe. I think that's where you're going at, but I'm not saying you're doing that. But I don't want to apply a hypothetical individual case like that to kind of look at certain companies and databases that have shoulda samples and say they doing the same thing. So,
No, I'm just simply saying it can be done. So when
oh yeah,
DQ says
yeah. I
that,
mean, yeah.
when DQ says that, like the ABOs pretty much completely reject DNA and they only accept genealogy, is because genealogy is hard and it's physical, right? So if I have a birth certificate from this person, then more than likely that's just what it is. There's no gray area. There's no, you feel what I'm saying?
I feel like documents, historical documents, are easier to doctor and manipulate than genetic
Yeah, that's
sequences,
true.
right? Because even in the example you gave, where someone sets certain parameters to have a desired outcome, in order for it to be, published in the mainstream, those parameters they set are gonna have to be transparent, right? Like in
Exactly.
whatever data set they put out to the public, they're gonna have to state the parameters that they set up for their experiment. They can't just keep those parameters hidden, right?
Now, if
So
they want to finesse the game and just show it to somebody and say that's different, but the moment you make that commercialized or make that, then yeah, they're gonna get fried. Or they just gonna say your shit weak, your database is weak.
what I will say to the Abos credit is they are kind of following suit of what we call Native American tribes do traditionally. Like most Native American tribes don't go off DNA either. They ask for some sort of documentation to prove your family was a Cherokee or whatever else. So they don't go off of DNA either. To be
Yeah, that's
fair.
true. Yeah. That's the ill part about it. Like once you actually learn that the Indians, like once they was living amongst a lot of Africans, they was enslaving the motherfucker. So I mean, a lot of that shit could be true for a lot of people, a lot of African Americans who got a history of being around of the Native Americans. It's just that y'all motherfuckers is probably under some type of oppression. You know what I mean? About them people.
Yeah, I feel like they started to, well, some of the tribes started to enforce that rule because they understood a lot of Black people have some, genetic ties, even if it's very little, right? And they ain't what just any and everybody being able to have a claim due to genetics. So they made rules so that you have to prove it through some sort of documentation to get official, membership or citizenship. I definitely think that's a part of gatekeeping people out for sure.
Yeah, so James Smalls, he definitely plays in that gray area. At this point, I think he know better. Um, so he's trying to play both sides of the fence. He trying to stick to his pro-African side, and that's somebody mic is crazy. Asshole. Yeah, so his he's trying to play to both sides. That outdated information about the blacks being Omax, and he clearly seen better information on that by now. He clearly seen it. So the fact that he keeps saying it, like we're acting like he's stuck in under a rock somewhere. You dig what I'm saying? Like, no, this brother goes on. He's not cooped up in a house where, no, he's talking to people like Dr. Mayat and them. He's well acquainted with the computer age and new information and all of that. He's sticking to that bullshit. He's sticking to that bullshit.
He can't fully shake it off.
Yeah, he's sticking to it. So if he's sticking to it, right? We got to clean that up. We can't just give him a pass and say that he's old when he's clearly engaging and taking in new information. You dig what I'm saying? He does it all the time. This motherfucker going back and forth to Africa. He on Zoom and Skype and, you know, like he doing what the fuck? So now he ain't seen a new book or a new paper in 40 years. He ain't heard no information that counters or contradicts his viewpoint in 40 years. He heard that shit 40 years ago. The counter to the shit that he's saying. He denied that shit then, and he denying it now. So I'm with logic. You know what I mean? Because if you can't trust them on that, right? Then why would you trust him on the black and African part then? If we know he'll lie, you dig what I'm saying? Then we know that, you know, he'll skew the African shit or embellish that shit also. He's just not trustworthy at this point in time.
So hold on. So you don't allow for a third possibility that he sincerely believes it? That's not a possibility to you?
Yes, that's a possibility.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe it though, but it's a possibility. You feel me? Because I didn't heard him say that his family was the mound builders. In the Carolinas or wherever the fuck he from. And he go to the grave sites and clean them off. And his people was here for thousands of years. You dig what I'm saying? Black people he was talking about. Not in Mesoamerica. Or no, he's talking about the Carolinas. He's saying that those mounds was built by Africans, his ancestors. They was always here.
The Mississippian culture.
Yeah.
Builders, yeah.
He says this shit. So now in high school, no, I can't sit there and act like he genuinely believed this shit when he's making shit up and embellishing and lying also.
Right.
Can't do it.
I think what you said was a key point right there, right? If you are so a quote unquote truth seeker, right, for 40 years, and you ain't heard at least some valid argument. I ain't gonna say some valid argument, but if at least somebody has, brought to your attention that you might be messing this part up or messing that part up, ain't no way that you've been right, 100% right for 40 years. That just ain't even realistic. So the fact that his position ain't moved it go to show you that there's actually something up. You know what I'm saying? Either he just being naive to some of the facts that disagree with him, or he just lying. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta give him just one of them two stances as far as why his position ain't really moving like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think
I
that's
could.
too. I think. Go ahead.
No, I mean I was basically done. You go ahead.
I think that's too simple a binary though, because like I done heard all the conventional arguments and the so-called conventional evidence for the Egyptians not being black, and that's actually the consensus holding. And I strenuously disagree with it. But it's not because I'm lying. No, I genuinely am of the opinion, based on all the available information, that these people, the majority that hold that consensus, they don't know about the counter arguments, or they're being disingenuous in a lot of cases. But it's not me lying. It's not me. No, I know the information.
Well, I
I know
think he
what
believes it. Yeah, I feel you.
yeah,
I
I
think he believes
know what the other side. I know what the other side says. I know what it is that they present as evidence to substantiate what they're saying. I am just simply saying they're wrong. Similar, I think that's what Smalls is on. So for the 40 years, yeah, I'm gonna maintain what I'm saying, not because I don't believe it and I'm trying to get one over, but no, because I do sincerely believe it. And I believe that the people who you believe are correct, I believe that they're wrong. Like, how are y'all not including that as a possibility also?
We said it was a possibility. I said it was a possibility, but I don't believe it. Right? Just
Chef
because
said
it's
it.
possible.
You're my friend, Haskell. I'm gonna just keep it a bean, which some of that
Do
stuff
you
that you be
believe?
doing,
Do you
I be
believe?
thinking like, bro, my nigga, he is really
So,
off his
Chef.
mind today.
So, Chef, do you sincerely believe that I sincerely believe that the Egyptians were predominantly and unequivocally black? Or you think I'm playing or lying?
Um,
Or
play,
rabbit when it comes to that topic.
I think you playing in line.
That's crazy. And if
It's something, but you know what it wouldn't be though, Haskell? It wouldn't be rational. That's what whatever it would be, it ain't rational. That's what it ain't.
It's a very
But as
anachronistic,
a homie that I
a
actually
very
like talking to,
anachronistic
I'm not
statement.
going. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to lay it on thick like that as far as like how it make me feel. But yeah, them conversations to me, you sound a little crazy, even though you still my dog. That's it.
that's fine though, Logic. The question is, do you think that I'm running game? Do you think that I'm being sincere and that I truly believe these things that I say? That's the question. Not if
Now
I'm
you can absolutely sincerely believe it, but that alone wouldn't take you out of the realm of just being crazy on this particular topic.
But he can believe
Something
it and be incorrect.
there's something about the topic that causes you to become irrational. Certainly.
right, but Logic, y'all claim wasn't that Small was irrational. Y'all claim is that he running game. Like he really don't believe that shit, but he just saying that shit to get some shit over.
Yeah,
That's
that's
different
what I
from
believe.
being
That's what I believe.
right, but
Yeah,
Logic,
but you
are
in
we
here
clear?
you in
Hold
here
on, Logic,
talking to us about it.
hold
He
on.
writing books
No,
and
no, no.
trying to take it to Africa
But we
and all
need to
kinds of
be
crazy.
clear. No, but we let's be clear here, right? Let's be clear, as the GOAT Jabari would say. There's a distinct difference between a nigga lying, knowing some shit don't go like that, but saying it for some sort of a gain, versus a person irrationally, truly, and sincerely believing something. Those are two very distinct things. You'd agree with that, right, Logic?
Yeah, I agree. I agree there's a difference between lying and just being wrong. I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I think, hey, Logic. I think why you ain't a reason why you ain't apply no venom for real Because it's a lot of old heads like that. If you was to talk to them in real life, you know that they love black people. So I think, it wouldn't be more so of a, hey, you grifting. It's more so you just wrong as a bitch. But I can't deny the fact that you put black people first at this. I mean,
But it's also, for me, it's a difference between if that's how you feel from your front porch and you stay there, or maybe people who happen to wander across your front porch, you might share it with them, but you ain't writing no books and you ain't on no tour. And
yeah, he leading a lot of niggas to it. Yeah, I think.
You're not doing that. You're not trying to come across.
And I feel you on that. If you was to give him that critique, he would get offended by that.
I'm late to the conversation. So somebody's saying that Professor James Small is saying that Egyptians are black, and he's doing so out of what? Out of ignorance or out of
playing? Not out of ignorance. I wouldn't call him ignorant. I wouldn't call him ignorant, right? Because I'm going to respect the amount of information that he actually is able to retain and spew out, right? So we ain't going to play with his intelligence at all. You know what I mean? We ain't going to play with his amount of information that he's learned over the 80 years he's been on this planet. So we're not saying he got a comprehension issue. Not all his faculties are intact. So the only thing left, right? And I've been seeing this brother, I done heard his rationality. He's very rational, right? So we know he has that component also. So the only thing left, because everything else worked correctly, the only thing left is he playing. He gripped it.
You don't know religious motherfuckers like that that's rational and they thinking, but that belief they got just, you feel me?
Yeah, he has a blackology. He's one of them old school Dr. Ben, one of them, everything's black, which is fine. I mean, that's who he lacks. I don't know what he lacked, to be quite honest. I would learn from Dr. Small, but I don't think anything's wrong with him saying that the Egyptians were black. Like I don't understand how you try to make that a bad thing for him saying it. Like he playing.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's if crazy. He playing, then all of our black luminaries taught the same thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're saying he's playing, and all of our black luminaries who taught and wrote books saying the same thing, you would necessarily have to believe that they was all playing. Sheikh Anta Diop was playing. Chancellor Williams was playing. Van Sertima was playing. Imarkabanga Sugar, or however you say his name, he was playing. John Henry Clark was playing.
Damn, so Diop was playing. Diop was playing at UNESCO. The symposium, he was playing at the symposium. Damn. They went to the symposium playing.
No, after the symposium, they was playing. Before the symposium, after the symposium, they thought they had something. After the
symposium, hey Chef, that might be the most prolific statement I ever heard. That nigga said after the symposium, they started encourage
that. DQ, don't encourage that madness, man. That is absurd. So everybody just playing. Everybody.
They said, "Yo, we about to push this one narrative." All right, hut.
Yeah, playing, man. You feel me? And it's sad that 40 something years later, you still haven't caught on to that yet. So that just shows you dig what I'm saying, how dangerous stuff like that is. Because this 40 something years later, and you have new data that's available to you that's proven it scientifically, and you still sitting here denying it. You'll read through the data, the new information, and you still come to the same conclusion. Because at the end of the day, you think they lying.
You talking about me?
The same way that have been
That's
in
a
all
fair
them.
point. Only because they didn't have DNA. I'll give you they didn't have DNA. So that's a fair point. But I would never argue that they were black or anything. But that I wouldn't say that. I don't
Yeah,
make
but
those arguments.
no. We're talking about Professor Smalls and them. You dig what I'm saying? We're talking about them being engaging in disseminating information for 50 something years, right? Teaching in colleges and having colleagues and up to date information, right? We're going to act like he hasn't, in the last 50 years, the cutting edge information in those fields haven't been at his fingertips. Working at colleges and all of that. Are we saying that? No, bro. He got way more resources, over the last 50 years than we'll ever have. So he's seen the.
Was you on there when he pulled up when he was talking with Logic?
Yeah, I seen that. It was too much. He hit Logic with the kitchen
Why y'all
sink.
don't? Why? But did y'all have a Q&A part, or why don't y'all give this
We
pushback
didn't want
when
to
this man was?
disrespect him. We didn't. We didn't want to disrespect them. We didn't want to have a contentious back and forth with him, and we didn't want to try to make him look crazy live. That's insane, Haskell. No,
But you say
so I'll do that with you, bro. Out of respect for him, we can let him speak his piece, right? Now we're going to go at the young people like you that agree to that. You get that?
I don't, but I guess like
You know more about it than he is. Out of respect for him, we can let him do his thing. We coming after niggas like you.
yeah, because you think it's an easy win, but you end up getting fucked up. But what is it about you? So y'all think it's impossible to respectfully give pushback? Like, y'all think Dr. Small or Professor Small is made of porcelain or something? Like, he can take pushback.
I've seen somebody push back on him before and he came apart. It wasn't a good look. You dig what I'm saying? And then the person who pushed back on him, he had to kind of buck up a little bit because now you trying to lowboy me. When I was just giving a critique, it was Zion Lex, I think. Matter of fact, it was Zion Lex. Zion Lex was giving him respect. Said every glowing thing he could say about him. But on Sinetta, he disagreed with a portion of the information that Professor Small said, and Professor Small lost it. Sinetta and them lost it. They act like, you dig what I'm saying? Like, so I gotta sit here and just accept everything you saying, and I can't disagree with you. I can't. You dig what I'm saying? It was crazy.
You know what? You know what? I don't know about what you're talking about, but I do know when Ankdom had what's his name? What's that? He's an MD and a PhD. The one Corey don't like. Soy Keita.
Mm-hmm.
When Ankdom had Soy Keita on his program, and what's the name was on there? Ngozi, right? And Ngozi began here talking the most shit, talking all this E1, B1 shit. Matter of fact, that's your master teacher, Chef, when it comes to this Black Egypt wasn't black shit, right? That's your master teacher, right? And when Soy Keita went on there, he said, "Hey man, I'm ready for it." You know, but just know that I got a bullshit detector. Let niggas know, look, I want, let's have the debate, nigga. That nigga dropped his nuts, nigga. And what that nigga Ngozi do? Oh, Baba, Baba Keita, Baba. You know, I'm working on my degree. You know, I'm going back to school to get a degree in DNA. Man, that nigga tucked his shit, man, cause he ain't want no pressure with that man.
What Keita, or whatever the fuck his name is, he don't push that the Egyptians was black thing. So according to him, what would have been the contention?
I ain't gonna lie, I think Keita is worse than blackologist because he tries to say it without putting the verbiage in there. You know what I mean? The whole tropical limb proportions and all that shit.
Thank
he
you.
Be on that.
So
he
don't
on the same shit.
Chef, don't try to go around it. You know that kid is on that shit. Just cause he don't like
he's definitely he's an undercover Afrocentric.
He don't agree with using the term black and all that shit. If you putting out papers, right, with DNA analysis from the 18th dynasty monarchs, right, and you're showing that their DNA is 90% congruent with groups in the Great Lakes region and West Africa and all that, nigga, you're saying that them people black. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree.
So don't do that, Chef. Don't your boy tucked this shit and he bent the knee when it was prime time. He come on this bitch, talk all that shit, right? Talk to us like we crazy for saying the Egyptians was black and it's ridiculous and science doesn't prove this and that. And then when that nigga was in the square, when the lights was on, nigga, and a nigga challenged him too. Nigga say, yeah, nigga, what's up now? Nigga, run, what's all with all that pussy shit you was talking on the internet, nigga? That's what Soy Keita said to him. And that nigga said, bye-bye.
You know what around there, yeah, that's a fact.
Hey, Fetty, that nigga said, bye-bye.
Hey, I do remember that. He called him bye-bye about 13 times. He sounded like a newborn that was hungry. He wanted that.
Hell yeah.
I can see him putting both his arms up like, pick me up, see kid. Pick me in there.
That's funny as hell.
I'm telling you, bro, them OGs know how to disarm niggas, bro. That shit is a skill, bro.
Hey, Chef. What's the name guy? He got an answer for that, bro. Matter of fact, if I ever talk to Ngozi again, I don't want to hear none of that shit, nigga. I don't want to hear about none of that E1B1A. I don't want to hear none shit about no motherfucking Ibero-Marusian. None of that shit, nigga. Shut it up. I don't want to hear it, dog. Cause you weren't talking none of that shit when Debo pulled up, nigga.
I gotta be fair. I've heard Ngozi in conversations like, critique Keita and say that the verbs or the vocabulary he used is very, Afrocentric. He ain't like, and he's the same as everybody else. So I definitely heard him say that multiple times.
Bruh, the man talked crazy about Soy Keita. Now, I don't expect in a live conversation you're gonna be disrespectful, but Keita went up there and he was respectfully looking for pushback. And he threw the gauntlet out there.
Hey, hold up. Someone in the comment section said Keita said the modern Egyptians are the original Egyptians. Can someone fact check that, please?
Yeah, he'll say shit like that. Like, yeah,
but it's with a qualifier. Yeah, it's
okay.
It's
what's the qualifier? Break that down.
The tropical limb proportions and certain words.
The modern Egyptians don't have tropical limb proportions. So if he's saying the modern Egyptians are the original Egyptians, qualify that statement.
True,
So
that
he's
nigga
using,
came
he's
up with the
using,
term supra nigger. If
so
that
he's
ain't
using
blackology, I don't know what it is.
scientific racism.
Yeah, but
Super.
let's not move away with what the person in the comment section is claiming. If he said that, which I don't know if he had said that, but if he said that, what did he mean by that?
He said words to that effect. So he was saying that the people who have the most close genetic affiliation to those ancient groups would be people who are currently living within that region, right? But then he goes on to say that
No.
many of them would have got genes from more recently arrived populations from West Asia, etc. So he does say it truest, but it's a lot more nuanced than how it comes across in that comment.
It's the whole. It's what Unc be saying. The whole indigenous African. It's the same game. It's the same. It's the same game plan.
So you know what? You know it's the perfect analogy, truest. Stu Peace talks about this all the time, right? Diana Ross's grandchildren, right? Diana, none of us are more closely related or share more genetic affiliation with Diana Ross than her grandchildren, right?
Mm-hmm.
But her grandchildren are also like 75, 80% white. You get that, right? You see the analogy that I'm drawing?
Right.
Well, how do you explain the increased sub-Saharan ancestry post-Roman period? If anything, the ancient Egyptians was more whatever y'all call mix or whatever, more back then and then today. So that's the part that fucked me up.
No. Listen, I don't even want to go there. I was just explaining how.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, yeah, I was making it make sense for truists how a person could say that the modern Egyptians have the most genetic affiliation with the ancients, while at the same time imply that the Egyptians racially were not like the Egyptians today. Like both of those things.
Well, listen to this. So when I
While
asked,
at the same time
asked,
having more sub-Saharan DNA than their ancestors did.
Listen to this.
Exactly.
I done asked the clinker. This is what the clinker says about Soy Quieta, right? So I asked it, does Soy Quieta say the modern Egyptians are the original? Yes, in the sense of substantial population continuity, not in the sense that modern Egyptians are an unchanged or pure copy of the earliest Egyptians. Quieta and A.J. Boyce wrote that the present inhabitants of the Nile Valley should be understood as in the main, although not wholly, descendants of the region's pre-Neolithic inhabitants. They stated that there was no wholesale population replacement. Following the arrival of Arabic speakers, Arabization was largely a linguistic and cultural shift rather than the replacement of Egypt's population.
I agree with that.
Does Haskell agree with that?
No.
It says there wasn't a wholesale. It says there wasn't a wholesale what now?
All right, I'm gonna read their words again. Quieta and A.J. Boyce wrote.
No, just read that part. No, let's go to the part where it says
Okay, it says
there
they
was no
stated that there
wholesale.
was no wholesale population replacement following the arrival of Arabic speakers. Arabization was largely a linguistic and cultural shift rather than the replacement of Egypt's population.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. I wouldn't say there was a wholesale. No, I do. Like in my rubric, how I conceptualize how the race of the ancients became different from the race of the current people. I don't know if I would use the language of there being a wholesale replacement. I think the vast majority of it is more about amalgamation more than wholesale replacement. So I think I would agree with that statement actually.
But they're not. But they're not claiming it was a racial replacement or they're saying it's a
It's not
cultural
racial.
and linguistal. They ain't
It's
mentioned
not
it
racial.
being racial.
It's not racial. It couldn't be racial because race didn't exist at that time period. You understand what I'm saying? We're hyper retrofitting an anachronistic term into that time period that doesn't apply. They would have no idea about race. Culture, yes. Race, no.
They would have no idea about Africa either, but we call them indigenous Africans. So that's playing
Yeah.
semantics.
So
We
we're
can
having. So
talk
no, we're
about.
having. So wait.
We can
No,
talk.
bro.
Go
So
ahead.
if we're gonna have the conversation, we can have the conversation under the aspect that we're having a anachronistic conversation, and we're
Yeah. So
misapplying this racial term
there's
into
no.
history. So
We
wait.
all
Why y'all
understand
never
that there's
bring
Wait,
no.
up
wait,
the
wait, 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 wait,
anachronism?
wait, wait.
This is
Why
stupid.
y'all
This
never
is
bring up the
stupid.
chronology?
Here
I
we
need to know
go.
though.
Here we
Why
go
y'all
with that
never bring up the
dumbass
chronology
It's
conversation.
not. It's
when
not.
we
It's not
when
dumb to
we
be
call them
right.
Africans?
Yeah, they weren't African.
Hey brother, how
This
come
is
y'all
this
never
is so
bring
this is
up the chronology when we call them Africans?
we can't call them African. So what I call them is Nile Valley inhabitants, right? Because that's what they are. They're
Well, the
inhabitants.
Nile,
They're
the
wait.
Nile is
Why are you cutting me off
Nigga
every
using the
2 seconds,
Nile.
brother?
They
I
didn't
promise
say
I'm gonna let
that.
you go.
Nile is a modern word.
I'm a promise I'm gonna let you go, brother. So you want to say happy? You
No,
want to say
you
Itaru? You want to say Itaru,
pop it
brother?
out with
Brother, it's like you,
another
brother. Listen.
You
I'm
contradicting
talking
yourself
to
by
you on
using
your
modern
level,
terms.
brother. I'm talking to you on your level. I can say Itaru. You wouldn't know what I meant when I said Itaru, would you?
That just means river.
They just mean river,
right,
exactly. So I just said now river, so
right,
he gonna
right.
now
No,
guys
so but we don't.
understand what
This
I'm
the
saying,
thing, though.
brother.
This is the
Don't
thing.
straw
Yeah,
man,
but
brother. Don't straw
nobody in
man me, brother.
scholarship,
Hold on.
nobody in scholarship has to do all that.
No,
People can
Yeah, brother. So
collectively
why are
talk
you
no.
about
cutting
I
the
this.
don't mind you
conversation before I can
using
get to the
Nile.
point, brother? Just
The
let me get
point
to the
is,
point,
I
brother.
don't
If you
mind
wanna
you using Nile.
play words with
I
my
don't mind you
semantics with
using
my
Nile
words,
or
brother.
Africa though. I don't mind you using neither one of the terms. I just wonder why when niggas say black or something, then we start talking about anachronism. When we use
Well, yeah.
all
So
the
let me.
words that
So
you use
you
to
asking the
describe
question.
them are
Let me please answer
anachronism.
it. Yeah, let me please
But go
answer it
ahead.
because I'm not. Listen, you asked the question. Let me answer. I don't apply those terms. When the white people were saying that the Egyptians was white, they was wrong too. So when they
Right,
went to
I
the
agree.
symposium and met them with, huh?
I agree.
I agree. So back to
Right.
the point that's being made, brother. They're simply Nile Valley inhabitants, brother. All of those city states, all those spots were autonomous city states. They were not homogenous.
No. But we can sit here and we can sit here in 20 look back at Sierra Leone and say there was some niggas over there in Sierra Leone,
Yup,
although
they
they
was
didn't have
niggas.
race.
Sub-Saharan, yup.
Yeah, we can sit back right
And then,
here in
and
2026.
then we're having a
Listen,
racial conversation
in
because now we're talking
2026
about
we can
saying
sit here
more
and say
in
that.
scientific racism, right? So we're going to, at one
Huh?
end, we want to talk
No,
about, at
I'm
one
not.
end,
I'm not
wait,
caring about
wait, 'cause I
scientific
want to get to land this
racism. I'm
point.
talking about the
Because
chronology here.
at
I'm
one
having a
point,
chronological.
just
I'm having a
let me speak
chronological
one
conversation.
sentence. I'm gonna let y'all rock. I'm just want to land this point.
You ain't
Because
letting me get a sentence out, though.
at one point we want to talk about the racism, but then we want to use it, right?
No,
Samuel Morgan, you cannot be.
no.
You said,
I'm
brother,
not
let me
giving a
finish
damn
the
about
point, brother. Can I
racism
get one sentence out, brother? I know you disagree. Let me finish the
because I
sentence.
want to hit you. I want to keep
Because
you on the point. My point is the
brother, let me
chronology,
just get
not
my
the
sentence
racism.
out. I'm just trying to get
Go
my
ahead.
sentence out. So when we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about scientific racism and we're using things like tropical limbs and craniometrics,
Mm-hmm.
right? Terms like sub-Saharan, right?
Mm-hmm.
To identify with blackness,
Mm-hmm.
right? You saying sub-Saharan is black people, right? Who said
Yes,
that?
I'm saying it.
These combos, yes.
So when they're saying,
Yes, that's what they say out about black people.
so does it
I'm
hint to your
saying it.
IQ at all? Does it hint to being sub
I
in
don't
an
give a damn about
way?
having an IQ or nothing like that. My question was about chronology, bro. My question was
The
about the
question is about
chronology.
why are you using
You
terms
started
like
talking about
sub-Saharan to
racism to
identify
me.
yourself when it means and it's crazy.
Listen,
What brother you can learn
can you
learn the
answer
proper
can you
terms
answer my
besides black
question
and
about the
white.
chronology and then we can talk about racism, white supremacy after that, right? So my question is about the chronology, brother. So in 2026, I can stand right here in the United States and look back 400, 500, 700, 800 years ago at West Africa, and I can look back at that and say, yeah, those were black folk.
No. You can
Get
say that,
out
but
of here, man. This is
It's
ridiculous.
no.
Man.
Why,
This
let
is
me ask,
this
let
is
me ask,
because
let
of
me,
the
foolishness.
let,
Egyptians.
let me,
You
This
let me
gotta
is
just,
deny being a
foolishness.
hold on,
black
hold on.
man
I just want a
just because
definition
of
of
the
words, brother.
Egyptians.
It's just clear. It
No,
just,
you
I
Yeah,
need
can't.
a
this
definition.
You
When
can't
you're,
even be a black
brother,
man
let me get clarity, brother.
in order to be an
How are you using these
Egyptian.
words? Are
Ain't
you
no
using the words? Are
clarity.
you, wait,
This
wait,
is
brother,
that PKism. Get that shit out of
yeah.
here.
let me get clarity,
This that
brother. You're
PKism.
using, no, you're making irrational statements. I'm getting definitions of words. When you use the word black, are you using it in the modern social construct? Because it didn't apply back when you're talking about, brother.
Yeah.
So if you say, are
But
you
King
using
J,
it? If you want to have an anachronistic conversation and use the word in a fallacious manner, we
so
can. I'm hip to
so
blackology. But when you want to have
so
a correct
King J,
terminology and saying that they were black when the term did, no, brother, they were not black.
yeah, we got it. But King J, check this out, right? Are you familiar with the lady they call Sarah Bartman? I think she was from Southeast
Familiar with Sarah
Africa, and
Bartman, the lady that they had in the zoo, making fun of her about
Yeah,
they
yep.
put her in
her.
right. They
She's
put her in
supposed
the
to
zoo
come
and
from
all
the.
of
She's
that type.
supposed to come from the Twa tribe or some particular tribe
Right,
that. But those body parts are synonymous with that. Yeah, the DNA.
right. So if I was to see Sarah Bartman and say, "Man, that motherfucker was thick than a motherfucker," damn. Would that be anachronistic because those people didn't use that terminology or have that sort of ideation? Would it be anachronistic for me to say Sarah Bartman was thick than a motherfucker?
It would be anachronistic for you to say Sarah Bartman was black. It would be anachronistic for you
I'm
to
about
say
to
Sarah
say,
Bartman was in it. Listen, hold
It
on. It
sounds
would be
like you're
anachronistic.
avoiding his
Hold
question,
on,
sir.
brother.
Answer his question.
It would
You're
be that was a silly
deflecting.
question. It wasn't even intelligent.
It's
It would
not
be
silly.
so.
It's
It would be more
demonstrating. It's
appropriate to identify.
demonstrating a
It would be
logical
more. I can't even,
fallacy
brother.
you're
You can't even
making.
have the decor to
Answer his
even let brother
question.
speak. Why are you speaking for him? If that's brother, learn how to have some decorum, brother. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just having a conversation. So that would be the anachronism, brother. You have to identify
no,
her where she came from, brother. Nobody identifies
but
as
King
black or white,
J,
but people like you, brother.
but
People who
King
don't
J,
know where they
part of
came from, or they wouldn't identify, they got lost in
no,
the slave trade, brother.
But King J, part of
People know where
having
they came
decorum.
from, brother.
I got you, King J. But I'm saying part of having
And
decorum in conversation.
it be exact. Africa, land of the Terra for Africa. I mean, land of the Afri, right? That's a specific tribe. Was every
Yeah,
person on that continent from that tribe? No.
right. It's specifically in the area like around Tunisia. We know all that information.
Exactly. So why would
But
you call
now,
the whole continent? Wait. That's reflective to
no,
one
you
particular
cut me
tribe.
off though, King J.
So
But King
why
J, you
are you
cut me off.
calling everybody in the whole continent? So now you're calling everybody on that continent and
It's
people
not him.
from
It's
this
not
continent that
him
live on
doing
this
it.
continent.
It's
That's
2026,
right.
and that's the consensus, bro.
Everybody
It ain't
everybody
just
doesn't
him.
have lineage from the Afri tribe.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
playing.
we get that. We get that, King J. I mean, basically, what King J, we've evolved past those sort of pedantic, hyper semantic arguments. Like
And that's
I'm
super
being a lot more.
semantic. Like,
Yeah, that's super pedantic, super some.
Brother, I
You know what
started
it
off
is
by
to
saying
me.
that if we want to use it, if we want to have an
You know,
anachronistic conversation, I said we
no,
can.
no,
I
no, no,
started
King
off by
J,
saying that.
King J. But what you're doing is fake sophistication. Is what that is.
Absolutely. You
Like
didn't
where
you didn't even learn that in a university. No one in the
yeah,
university told you it
like,
was anachronistic to use Africa to describe the people of the continent in historical terms. Like no one taught you that in a university. You learned
Is it
that
right?
shit
Am
on
I
the internet.
wrong? What?
No,
Am
no,
I
no,
right or wrong? You
you
don't
are
know
presenting
what
pseudo
book I
intellect.
read, brother.
You
You
are
can't
presenting
tell me what books
pseudo
I read.
intellectual. You're using pseudo intellectual internet age arguments. You're not learning that in any university. These arguments you're making, it doesn't make any sense. We can't call the Mali
Brother, you
Empire
don't know what
black.
college I've been to, brother. Brother,
Yeah,
do you want to bow on that sword, brother?
I can
And ask
assure
me
you, you didn't learn
about what
what you're
college
saying.
huh?
I can assure you, what you're saying right now, you did not learn wherever the fuck you went to at accredited
Wherever
college.
listen. Wherever I learned it from is correct. So that's a mute point, brother.
It's not correct.
You're arguing about where I learned it from, opposed to arguing if it's right or wrong. What I said was 100% correct. You're just having a mute straw man's point, brother. You're not even making sense in your argument.
It's not correct. It's not correct.
It is.
It's
It is.
not.
We learned
If
that shit from the pseudo killers.
yeah,
yeah,
that is an honest
exactly.
argument. That's an Ankh special for sure. There's no doubt about that. That was one of Ankh's favorite arguments. Like it was some slick shit in like 2019, 2018. But it's 2026. We've evolved past that. So yeah, let's get back to Jada, right?
But it was originally one of Wu Ja's wiggle points, right? And then Unc and them picked the shit up. It was originally Wu Ja, one of Wu Ja.
For instance, let me tell you the
talking
importance
point.
of why like it's inappropriate to use it when we're talking about ancient Egypt, right? For one, Egypt is an English word, right? Egypt,
Oh Lord,
Egyptian.
Oh shit! My nigga about to
Oh,
go. Oh
come
shit!
on. Give me 30 seconds,
Oh
brother.
shit!
Let me
Yeah, this
ride,
nigga
my
man, he
we like
playing.
say Tawi or you know
Yeah,
command. What do we
Taiwi.
use? Like this is
My
getting
Taiwi.
absurd. It got too far.
Oh my god! My nigga about to give us the etymology, baby. Give us the science.
Y'all tough over here. I ain't gonna lie. No, I'm just saying, brother, it's important to know that these were autonomous city states, brother. They weren't all homogenous grouped together under
Bruh,
one
we
plan.
can't even get through a conversation if we started a so like if when historians and other academics use the term ancient Greece, right? Even though what they call Greece was a bunch of disparate city states that never unified except for like a 3-year period, right? So now we're gonna say, well, Greece is anachronistic because it was just a bunch of disparate city states. But nobody does that. That's only people like
brother. Oh my god! When we're trying to have a specific conversation, it needs to be done. It needs to be done. We need to talk about
it does not, because then you can't even get through a conversation in modern times because virtually every term that we're going to use in English is going to be anachronistic.
Can I give you a good example? When they asked about this conversation we've had in the community about the Egyptian and the religion, what did the Egyptians believe? It depends. It depends on which city state you're talking about because there's different cosmologies. There's the Heliopolis theology. There's the Hermopolis theology. There's the Memphite theology. There's the Thinis theology. There's a million theologies. So you can't just say, you have to really be specific and say, who are you talking about, brother? That's it. Which one? Because grouping them all up and saying Egyptian, you're conflating all the theologies into one, and you're going to get answers like, well, were they literally? Yeah, they were both, depending on which one you're talking about. That's why I'm saying you have to be.
What makes them?
This is where you got to incorporate language speakers and Haskell like that. You're making it seem like experts don't have a clear cut as to who these ancestral groups are, no matter if they was Memphis or
Yeah, they do, Fetty, and that's the point. But in conversation, you use shorthand, right? Assuming that pretty much everyone knows, right, the details, so that conversations can move along and you can get somewhere.
Yeah.
Only if everybody's familiar with the. I agree with that, but a lot of times people aren't familiar with it, so they just say Egypt, and then we get a lot of falseness passed about Egypt because they just grouped it all together. They really didn't have an understanding of the culture. And they just went with Google, man.
Listen.
Like Kemet, right? Everybody talks about Kemet, but there was no Kemet in the Old Kingdom.
Right,
Kemet
it wasn't
is a new king
like the
word,
11th
right?
dynasty,
So,
but listen, King J.
It wasn't Kemet. It wasn't even Kemet.
I said it didn't come. As far as I know, the word didn't come into really being used as a place name. The word was around before that, but insofar as being used as a place name until like the 11th or 12th dynasty. But if I were
correct, with the 049 determinative for sure, yeah. So I'm saying, so
if
I don't like. I just like. I'm not being too technical. Maybe that they say that.
Yes, you are. You are. That's the bottom line. So yeah, can we move on? Can we get back to
you ain't getting too technical, you fucking it up on purpose. So we can't get to what it really is. It's a tactic that you're doing.
It's running a dialogue. I ain't got no time. I'm working and talking, brother. Ain't nothing malice in my.
It's a tactic to seem more sophisticated than everybody on the topic, and it's not letting us get to the damn point.
What's the point, brother? The
Everybody,
point was
you,
this.
you
The point was
using
this. That you
using.
tried to make the point that James Small was in malice and ignorance or did playing with the word black. Well, there's the white people.
What
The white people
ignorant?
were playing with the word white then, because to my understanding, he met them with what they gave to him. He met them with blackology. So if he was incorrect, he was just meeting them with what they gave him. So I mean,
That's
that's fine.
that's not a good thing to do. I'm not going to be
We
wrong
needed, we
than
needed,
you.
we
For the
needed it
sake,
at the time.
I'm not, no, I know you don't. You don't be wrong just because somebody else is wrong.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, we
stupid as
needed
hell.
something to believe in, brother. Black
You be
power.
correct.
We needed
No,
that.
no, nigga, you ain't need Egypt to believe. In 1970, we needed that.
Like 1970, we
Hey,
had we needed Christianity at that point. We had Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So we needed something.
I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. You just lost me. And
Nah,
that's what's your whole point. Your whole point.
I'm talking about Professor
Everything.
James Small giving us something to believe in. They gave us they're coming at us with this white power superiority shit. They met Diop and them met them with blackology. They needed to do that, brother. They needed to do that. Whether they was right or wrong,
So you can
the white
understand. So
people was
you can
wrong too.
understand. So you can understand his need to do that, but you can't understand our need in 2026 to use terms like Africa or Black when we're speaking about civilizations in the past and trying to use terms in our vocabulary that could resonate with what we're trying to describe. You have a
No,
problem and
I
take
don't. I
issue with
don't agree with.
that.
I can't
But you,
understand that because I'm answering the question because no, he didn't know better back then. We had the tools to know better and to look back in retrospect and not make these
what do you mean
anachronistic
back
relations
then, Professor
and
James
James Small?
not make
James
those
Small, James
anachronistic.
Small's. What do you mean back then? He's alive today.
He still had the same ideology. He hasn't changed. What's wrong with that?
So why is the onus on me and not on him when we live in the same era with the same access to technology and books?
Because he doesn't want it. Because he doesn't want to include
Oh,
science.
because he doesn't want to. Because he doesn't want to.
hell?
There you go. There's it. Because he doesn't want to.
He
So
doesn't feel the
you
need
could
to.
you can
He
look
doesn't
at
feel like he's
that.
wrong. He doesn't feel like he's
What's
wrong.
do you feel like he's wrong?
You
saying we're wrong?
You haven't made any statement that he made for me to judge. I don't even know what the
He
statement that
called
he's
the
supposed to
ancient
make.
Because I
Egyptians
know it ain't
black.
nothing but
He
push.
called the ancient Egyptians black 2 days ago.
I don't agree with that statement. No,
All right. Well, there you go.
I don't agree with that. No, I don't think they were black nor white. I would never impose modern 21st century racial words in that time in times of antiquity. I would not do that. No. So I would make the argument that they were neither white nor black. They were inhabitants of the Nile
Would you
Valley.
wait, hold on. So would you say the kingdom of Mali and the kingdom of Ghana, we can't call those people black?
No. See, the only reason
They
he
have a
said
name.
that was
I'm asking King J, would you say I can't call the kingdom of Ghana, the people of the kingdom of Ghana, or the people of the kingdom of Mali, we cannot call them black? That would be anachronistic.
Yes, they very would be, and even the term
It's
you're using, I would
ridiculous.
say, and you're really returning to the Sonite Empire or the Ghana Empire, not the Kingdom of Ghana. So even the term that you're using is incorrect. You don't really know a lot. You think you're the
Yo,
people
you super, yeah, bro. You
you,
super, yeah, bro. There's no need to be that semantic, bro.
Okay, so wait. By that
you've been
same
allowed to
logic,
get away with speaking a certain you've been allowed to
okay,
get
go
away
ahead.
with speaking a certain way, right? The way that your narrative and the way that you're putting things is very wrong, incorrect. So yeah, you like to use anachronistic terms and imply them in times of antiquity where they don't apply. So
Yeah, no, I like to use
conversation
terms as it was
your
taught to me in my
conversation is
history,
very
as it was
salacious.
taught to me in my history department at a university, not by
Oh,
some
so
niggas
let
on
me
the
ask you a
internet. But
question. Let me
anyway,
ask you a question.
King,
Oh,
but
wait, hold
King
on,
J, but King J,
wait.
let me
Because
ask
now you're skimming. Now you're skimming us. Now wait.
you
Now
just
so
talk,
wait.
you just
Let
talk.
me wait.
So let me ask you. So let me ask you another
Go
question.
ahead.
So you use the term city states to refer to these places in Egypt. You called them city states. Did they call them city states? Was city or states a concept that the ancient Egyptians had, or is that something we anachronistically look back and we can apply? And we can wait a second, King J. Wait a second, King J.
Are you answering the
And
question
can
or
we look
asking?
back? Can we look back? Can we look back?
Got me.
And can we look back? Do scholars and
Y'all think you
historians
smart?
look back and say these amalgamations of people, right? We can call these things cities and states, right? Or is that a terminology that the ancient Egyptians use?
Okay, so if you listen to what I said, the word that I actually used at first was sapat. I used the word city state because I know that you're not.
No, you
brother,
didn't. You
no,
said
please,
city
can I
state.
speak?
You know you
brother,
recorded,
brother,
right? You're recording.
brother,
All this conversation is
recorded.
recorded. You said city state.
Brother, you were able to. I'm gonna mute out because I was able to. I muted out and let you speak, brother. I just want my 30 seconds to respond to the question.
But
right?
you lied.
I use so bottom line, if I used the pot, you wouldn't have understood it. I used the word that you understood.
We
Right?
know what a supply is.
So you want me? Wait.
Like,
Question. You asking me? Are you asking me a question or not? So
But you lying.
Wait. Are you answering me a question? Do you speak Metanetter?
But King J, you gotta stop.
If I was to speak to you in Meta, brother, can I answer the question without being cut off?
King J, you gotta stop.
It makes it seem like we're arguing, brother. I just want to. Whatever. If you don't like my response, let me get it out though.
No, I'm saying though.
Let him get it out.
All I'm saying
is let me get it out. Thank you. You asked the question. So whether I use the pot or city state, I use the word that. Well, I can't even answer the question, brother. Damn, don't ask me a question if I can't answer it. Damn, don't ask me the question if I can't answer it, brother. Please.
No, is the condescension necessary though? Like you keep being condescending. I don't get that.
Yeah, because I keep being cut off. That's why. You could bear with me if you were being cut off in a manner that I was. You might be a little condescending yourself. So I don't care to be here. But if that's the point, I'm just working and talking my shit. But if you're gonna ask me a question, let me answer it. So whether I use a pot or a city state, I use the word that you understand because you don't speak Metanetter. I could have had the whole conversation. Hold on, brother. So I could have had the whole conversation. I could have had the whole conversation. Hold on, brother. Damn. Because I could have had the whole conversation in Metanetter and you wouldn't have understood it. So what would have been the point?
Do it.
So I spoke to
had a conversation in Metanetter.
Hold on, brother.
So fucking smart. I want you to have a conversation in Metanetter.
It's a Metanetter. You threw the gauntlet out there. We not trying to. We want to hear shit.
Kick that Metanetter. Let's go.
We want to hear some Metanetter.
We want to hear Metanetter.
Now on King J can only talk Metanetter.
Here we go. Netteroo, motherfucker. There we go. That's your Metanetter for the day. Let's say one. Stop playing with me.
But why is black different from city state? Aren't we just using black to understand because that's how we understand and we relate the same way as city states? What's the difference?
No, the difference is this, brother. You asking a serious question. I'm gonna give you a serious response to it, brother. That city state support, right? It's not anachronistic because the support is literally something that existed. It wouldn't be anachronistic because whether we say city state or support, it's referring. Well, oh my brother, you gonna answer? Let me answer the question or not? There is something that literally existed that represents that term. So it's not anachronistic to say city state in reference to support. But it is anachronistic to say black because what are we applying it to back then?
There's a people that
Wait. What word black today are we using to apply it to that they used back then? What's the word?
You said for city state, you said there was something that existed that we can call a city state. I'm saying there's something that existed called sub-Saharan West Africans that we could call black. We're calling the people that existed.
Are you right about it? And that's racist as hell. And how are you on this panel saying that? And they ain't checking you for that shit. You're saying black is synonymous with sub-Saharan. It's the same racist shit that Sam. Hold on, brother. Stop. Let me cut. Not for to cut your ass to death. You saying that black is synonymous with sub-Saharan is the same racist bullshit that Sam Martin used when he talked about cranial matrix and the skull size. When he talked about your nasal whip. When he talked about all those things.
I know, Fetty. Let him finish.
All those tropical limb proportions what made you sub-Saharan.
Let him intellectually masturbate because that's all he's trying to do. Anyways, that's a red herring. It's a red herring.
How are y'all on this brother on this panel to say this?
Cause he's that dude. True's one of the trillers on here, man.
Well, he getting beat to death. because there's no way that you can say that
Not
sub-Saharan is
really.
synonymous with black. And if anybody ponder
Not
that,
really. You out on your
ponder
feet
that,
right now.
ponder that.
You, King
I
J,
want
you're
to
out.
ponder how
King
sub-Saharan
J,
and black are synonymous, and
you're
tell
out.
me how that
You're
ain't the
out.
most racist shit I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
No,
The problem is you're hearing things because I never said that they were synonymous. I said that there is a people that existed in West Sub-Saharan Africa that we can call black because you said there was something that existed that we could call a city-state. I'm saying in our instance, there's also something that existed that we're calling black. And it's the people
Sub-Saharan
that,
Africans, right?
that listed,
Right?
it's the people that we're talking about that lived and reside in Western Sub-Saharan
Yeah, I don't know why that's like you can
That
clearly
doesn't
understand that
make
the
any
proxies
sense at
that they
all
were
because the
using
word
for
that we're
black is
using,
certain
black, is
King J,
in
population groups.
let
closer
Fetty
You
go,
just
context
King J.
with
overthinking it, bro.
doesn't
You
exist in
overthinking
times
it,
of
my nigga.
antiquity.
King J, let other people talk, brother. Let Fetty say what he was saying. He cut him off.
Oh no, you good, you good. I mean, I feel you, bro. If you want to be that semantic, I feel you. But in these convos, we can clearly use like references and certain population groups to clearly understand like what groups that we're talking about who's black and
Right. So
it's
so
not.
real quick,
And it.
for the people on the panel who don't have an issue with using the term black to describe people, right? I want y'all opinion, especially yours, Chef. I put a picture in the chat, in the general chat, of Imhotep's mother.
That's art. That's art. That's art. That ain't. That's art.
Hold on. I didn't even get my question out. Hold on, King J. This is for the remember, King J, you got to sit this one out because you don't believe in that rubric. This is for the people who are okay with using black to describe people, right? So Fetty, let me get the question out. And it's just a yes or no question. Based on the artwork that I just put in the general chat, which is supposed to be or is of Imhotep's mother, is it fair for me to say that artwork depicts a black woman?
That's a Haitian.
Thank you.
That motherfucker look Haitian. Stop, I say.
Yeah, look black to me. That black is anachronistic, is petty as hell to me.
Super petty.
Yeah, I know a Haitian when I see one.
But hey, Chef,
Yeah.
me and Fetty actually agree on Kieda, right? He doesn't like using the terminology, but it's clear that he rides for the blackology side. Because if you're gonna take DNA from them 18 dynasty people and run it and say, according to the database, they're 90% 90%, 93% sub-Saharan African. You're saying that they're black. I don't care what you try, terminology, and you know what I'm saying. so yeah, Kata definitely on the side of the good guy. For sure.
I just think he played too many games. I don't use him for or against my argument. I'd rather, you know what I mean? That's like almost using They play too much. You dig what I'm saying? It depends on what crowd Keita is around. You dig what I'm saying? I seen them make two young black brothers look crazy in a room full of white people. You feel me? And that shit was wrong. I ain't fuck with him ever since I seen that. You dig what I'm saying? That video. I'm like, yo, why would you, you know what I mean? You know what them young brothers was asking you. You feel me? Like, why would you even do that to them? Like, you can say no, or you didn't. I couldn't fuck with him after that. Reggie and them kept showing that. I think Unc and them was showing the video. Somebody can find it. He was doing a lecture somewhere, and at the end they was doing a Q&A, and two brothers got up and asked him about the Egyptians being black, and he talking about I don't understand that type of wording and all this. It was crazy. You know what I mean? Y'all remember that shit?
Seeing it, I didn't like it either.
Yeah, that was disgusting. So I ain't gonna use him for or against, because there's no tell him what the fuck he'll say.
But to me, Chef, is like that's just some academic high side. You know, they tend to. It's that's why I do feel kind of weird about Kada too, because you go out of your way to show that they're 93% sub-Saharan, but someone using the term black is just this huge transgression. Like, even if you don't agree with using the terminology, like what he did to them two young boys, like he took it, he did way too much.
Yeah, like
It's
that.
almost it's like some bougie shit. Like, oh, we don't use such primitive terms in our academic circles, and if you use those terms, then you're a like you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, you behind the
Yeah.
times, you're primitive. Cut it out.
He clearly
That
know
lady,
what them he clearly know what them young boys was asking him. And the only reason they were at his fucking conference is because of the shit that he say. You dig what I'm saying? So they was coming there, on some Baba shit. Like, yo, you kick that shit that, you know what I mean? And you gonna do them like that after they done sat through that bullshit you was talking, man? You crazy. Crazy.
That lady, Kyra Cooney, didn't have a problem calling them black. She said black like in the plantations in the South. And then she said the one drop rule, and Ankara ran with that. They was like, see, they only had one drop of black blood. I was like, wow, these boys are wild, yo. But she made it clear. She was like, yeah, they black. Like, we consider black in America. And that just doesn't matter at all. This is wild to me. And she
Yeah,
actually
but
said, like, if you go to the
Europeans,
plantation in the South,
yeah,
don't get
but
no blacker
you're
than that.
yeah, but Europeans, their scale of who's black and white is nuts because they are purse when it comes to themselves, right? So they sometimes think that if you have any level of mixture, then you're not white. You feel me?
Well, bro,
You go in
she
that
actually
black
said
category.
on the
So
plantation in the South, bro. She was like, if you go to the plantation in the South, and black people, yeah, they was black like that. And then she dropped in the one drop rule, and that's what they ran with. Like, she didn't just say, you go to the plantation in the South, that's what they look like, black people, black Americans.
yeah, but see, she was playing. She play like I said, her and Kieda and all them, they play too many games to me. You feel me? They
What
play too
about
many. I
what about
wouldn't take
what
none
about
of them
Futo
serious.
Kennedy? Chef, you familiar with Rebecca Futo Kennedy?
Yeah, she's a nut too. You feel
Oh,
me?
so she playing too.
That's the little fat white lady, right?
Yeah, but I don't think
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah,
old,
yeah. Yeah, that
but she
little
is.
fat white lady crazy.
Yeah, she is a little porkster. So
Mhm.
so anybody who don't see it how you see it, they playing.
Yo,
You know,
Askel, I still have a question.
we
I
can
still have a
watch her
question for you.
video.
It's off topic, but I still have a question for you, brother Haskell. Maybe we can discuss it today.
Go ahead. We ain't got no. We ain't talking about shit no way. Cause there's plenty of people on here who don't even want to talk about no Egypt. So go ahead, bro.
Well, thank you. The other day you had mentioned something to the effect of Germanics in particular, as far as white people are concerned. Germanics. You said they
Right,
have this thing where they have evil as a virtue. You remember saying that?
right, right.
What do you attribute that to? This idea or this philosophy of evil being a virtue. What do you attribute that to, as far as the Germanics are concerned?
All right. So I subscribe to what Bill can't remember his name, the Iceman Inheritance. So he theorizes that it's due to the environment that they grew up in.
Michael
Because
Bradley.
Michael, is that his name? Michael Bradley? I
Yeah.
got the book right here too. I just can't remember his name. But yeah, his theory is that due to how scarce resources were in that part of the world, like nothing would grow there. Combined with how cold it was, things like that, it forced people to be in a constant state of having to, scrap for food and to survive. And that's where it basically developed. That was the gestation for that attitude of using deception and lying and that sort of stuff. It
Pascal, are
became
you giving both sides of the story? Because it seems like it's the extremities on one end to the other. Either it's going to be extreme cold and also extreme heat, right? That can produce those same conditions, correct? Not just extreme cold, but actually extreme heat as well, correct? So extreme heat can be people are evil as well, correct? People who live in the hot deserts or black people as well, right?
no,
No.
no, no, no. But
It's only
remember also,
it's only the cold, extreme cold, not the extreme heat, correct?
well, the extreme cold plays into the other part of what I mentioned, which was the scarcity of resources,
Yeah, the
right?
desert it had a scarcity of resources too. Extreme heat in the desert, there's no resources. So that's my point. Is that where are you saying the evilness comes from? The extremity or the lack of resources, the extremity of the temperature or the lack of resources, and then how are you tying that to skin color? Go.
Well, I never made a tie into skin color, right?
Well,
Remember
you
the
said
question he
Germanic.
asked
Well, you
me.
said let's don't play the games, but you said Germanic, right? So let's not play. We ain't been
Well,
saying
but
you
that's
don't think German people are
anachronistic to
white,
use.
right?
It would
They're
be
white, right? Or are
anachronistic
German
for
people
me.
black? Are German
No,
people
no, he's
black?
not white. No, remember,
They're
white
not
is
white.
anachronistic. Remember you said that?
Well,
So we're
German, we're talking
sticking
about
with
German people nowadays, right? They're German,
no, no,
right? So
no,
how's that anachronistic, brother?
no,
Just
no, no,
don't
no,
play the
no.
games, brother.
You
We're
got
talking
to
about
slow
now.
down. No, I'm playing the game how you played. You told
Now,
us
it's
not
not
to
even
use.
making sense. I'm talking about in times of antiquity, brother, 2,000 years ago. You talking about 50 years ago,
Yeah, so
last week. You talking about last week. Are
right,
German people
so
alive
so
today, right now? Are there German people alive right now? Yeah. So how's it anachronistic, brother? Like,
you
stop
got to
playing the
slow
silly
down.
game.
You
You're
got
not
to
smart
slow
enough.
down. Slow down a little bit, right? So a lot of what I base my opinions on as far as the Germanic people is based on the writings by people like Julius Caesar and Tacitus, right? Tacitus, I believe he wrote his book in like 9 CE, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a little bit later. That was like 2,000 years ago. And it was actually the Romans coined the term Germania, right? Talking about the peoples that live between the Danube and the Rhine, right? So when I speak about Germanic peoples, no, it's not necessarily tied into skin color. Is that fair on my part? King J, am I playing the game fair or am I dancing?
Well, I didn't hear what's your last one. I was working, brother. I stepped away from my phone. But I wanted the brother Haskell to answer the question in regards to the extremities and the temperatures and how he's applying it. Because y'all straw man it all over the place. The point of bringing up Germanic people was because they're white people, right? So let's don't play the game. Let's stick to that point. Let's go back to that and go back to the extremities and how the cold environment make white people evil. Go.
Well, so my brother asked me about Germanic people because I brought it up in a conversation, and I theorized that the reason why things like lying, stealing, manipulating became virtues in that culture. That isn't to say that in other environments that those things don't exist, but they were mostly episodic in other areas. Whereas in that particular area of the world, it became a symbol of virtue to be able to connive and deceive and trick people, right? So I then go on to further theory. He asked me, where do I believe that comes from? Like, how did that come to be the predominant culture of those group of people from that area of the world? And I started to give a shorthand answer about things like scarcity of resources, the extreme cold. There's other things that go into that also, but those are the first two things that come to mind.
I can rock with that. But could you sum it up and just say that extreme environments can lead to because even in Egyptian culture, when we talk about Set and him being synonymous with the desert and chaos, right? So it doesn't matter where you're at. It just seems to be extremities can cause those type of environments for anybody, whether you're German, whether you're African, whether it doesn't have. I don't think it has a skin color to do with it, or anything. It just a lack of resources brings out the worst in everybody. Or
Nah,
the DNA related.
I could get jiggy with that. You know, it's just like when Michael Bradley writes his book, we're all trying to put together a theory as to. So I don't think it could be denied that in terms of persistency, in terms of lethality, in terms of just a wholesale disregard for any sort of wartime convention or anything like that, no one comes close to this particular group. Chef always give me pushback on that when he says that the numbers that they were responsible for killing and wiping out is chiefly due to their superior technology, right? And that if other groups like the Mongols and blacks and such, if those empires and those imperialists had the same sort of technology, they would have wiped out as much as the British Empire did.
Yes.
Or the American, you know what I mean?
That's a fact.
So in terms of the why, there's disagreement, but in terms of the raw numbers, like wiping out entire groups of, like, nobody could match these niggas, though. Like it ain't close.
I think it's related to their idea of mercantilism. I think I mentioned it before. Mercantilism is the idea that there aren't enough resources in the world for everyone, and you have to hoard these resources in order for your nation to survive, right?
Yeah,
and that was the
that's
European principle.
That's the Malthusians. That's not mercantilism.
No, it's the same thing.
Well,
it's the same thought pattern.
Yeah, but I would also add to that, Haskell, as far as other reasons why this might be true of this idea of evil as a virtue. If you look at their religious beliefs as well, right? In certain religious beliefs, there's something that says that morals has to take a back seat to obedience to God, right? For example, if God commands you to commit a genocide, right, it's more important to be obedient to God than it is to be moral, right? So their obedience, the idea of obedience to God trumps morality. That's it with Judeo-Christian, and even in the Christian ideal, there's this idea that the most important thing is to be obedient to God, regardless of what that God commands you to do. And I think that might be a part of the drive of what you mentioned. How does evil trump? How does obedience trump morality? And I think you can see it even today with the justification of what's going on in Palestine. They'll justify that by saying, God, this is a command from God to take back the land and so on. And that's how they justify it and moralize it to an extent, by obedience to God.
Right. That kind of sounds like Calvinism, not like a 1-for-1, but to some degree, you kind of bleeding into that argument that I like making, that there are some sort of like justifications in their history for some of this behavior, for like the greed of capitalism. Like they've actually found ways to not even just cope with it, but even deem it as the correct behavior.
How do we explain their concept of no, you put in for 345. My bad, y'all. Well, then how do you explain the modern concepts that was developed by the West, like our concept of hospitals and cancer centers and orphanages, and you dig what I'm saying? How do you explain that if their whole thing mainly is savagery and brutality by nature? Like when you look at the social institutions that move society forward in the modern world, is clearly Western. So how can you have it both ways? You dig what I'm saying? That they are genetically and culturally
The
predisposed to do evil, and
things like the pharmacy and medicine, they inherited those things. Those are not Western.
You you saying that they inherited the ideas of modern medicine? Is that what you kind of going at? Is it that even that could be seen as like them kind of taking it from somewhere else?
Yeah, no, they inherited the concepts of science, medicine, mathematics, all of that. Insofar as Germanic descended peoples, they inherited that. They inherited that. If it's not from the Romans or the Greeks, they inherited it from the
so
medieval
the
period.
Romans and Greeks not Europeans. So the Romans and the Greeks are not Europeans.
Yeah, but I said Germanic though, Germanic people, because you use the term wet. You use the term Western, right?
Right.
And as far as I know, Western is pretty much synonymous.
No.
I guess you using it broadly as white,
No.
and you
No.
found the Greeks and the Romans.
Western society is Greco-Roman. You dig what I'm saying? That's where they get the their foundational concepts, or they claim their foundational concepts of Western, and what Western is comes out of the Greco-Roman world. They believe that's like their
Right.
genesis.
True, absolutely.
Well,
But what did the Greeks and Romans say about them? Did they claim them? Nope.
They call them barbarians.
Not only did they call them barbarians, because they call other peoples barbarian too, because they didn't speak Greek or whatever, but they went beyond that, right? How Tacitus talks about them, the way how Julius Caesar talks about them, they look at them as animals, bro. So what Western society has done is they've rewritten history and kind of they've imposed themselves upon Greece and Rome, but Greece and Rome did not fuck with them.
So I think you pulling the King J right now. I think this is semantic at this point.
I was just going to say that he sound like he I mean, the argument is kind of I get it.
How? What I'm saying is,
how are you distinguishing between German and Greek, and when they all are, I would consider white. I mean, like,
or they're all white.
European white. Yeah.
Right, but he's saying most of the things
whitewashing of Roman Greece. They don't think there's been a whitewash. There's an argument made that there's been a whitewashing of Roman Greek culture.
That's gonna be real heavy for Chef them, dog. We ain't even gonna go there right now. That's gonna be too. They're gonna say that. They're gonna say that's some super blackology shit, Sunchild. So we ain't even going.
I mean, we gotta go back to Minonians and Mycenaeans and archaic Greek. You know what I'm saying? But they don't look white to me. I mean, black to me. They look like more of an olive color, to be exact. You know, Mediterranean from the Aegean area.
Yeah, I think that's why the brother categorized particularly Germanics, so that we don't make that mistake with who he's referring to specifically. So I think the Greek and Rome thing has to be a standalone in that context as well.
I agree.
Yeah, but when we're talking about the constructs of society we see in the modern world that we call West, right? So whether they are genetically the same people or not, they have the same, well, they adopted the same philosophies in terms of what regimes look like, what governments look like, when we're talking about republics or we're talking about democracies, right? A lot, even down to the way the infrastructure of government appears over here. It emulates what the Greco-Roman society did, right? So whether or not, they're Greco-Roman by blood, obviously we know the Anglo-Saxons are, the Anglos and the Saxons are two Germanic tribes that make their way to Western Europe. But Western civilization, as we know it today, philosophically attributes their, ideologies from Greek and Roman culture. That's undeniable.
Except for their religion, the Germans captured Rome in about the 4th century. And this is when Christianity, Judeo-Christianity, as far as culture and philosophy, going back to the idea of evil as a virtue, I think that could have been adapted there or adopted there through their exposure to Judeo-Christianity. I think that's where perhaps the Germanic idea of evil as a virtue,
even with that,
obedience to a deity trumping morality.
Yeah, but even with that, Sunchild, again, Western society as we know it today, predominantly the Christianity that's practiced in these societies are branches of Protestantism, right? And we know Protestantism comes out of the Roman Catholic Church. It branches out of that. So even when we're talking about Christianity, the Protestantism that's practiced, or the branches of it that's practiced in Western civilization, are really offshoots of the Catholic Church. I mean, the motherfucking Vatican is responsible for the New World being colonized to the degree it was. So, I mean, any way you slice it, the majority of their ideology comes from Greco-Roman culture. Even the New Testament is a Greco-Roman document.
Yeah, but they infuse. I'd agree with that, Truist, but a lot of it is infused with a ton of pagan. They infuse a lot of the paganistic stuff from where they were from too.
Yeah, but even those paganistic things, like when you see Hades being mentioned in the New Testament, Hades is a Greek deity, right? Neptune is a Roman deity. Like, so even the pagan stuff you see, half of that pagan shit is straight from Roman Greece too.
Right. So even if you say that they don't have the so-called barbaric nature of the Germanic people, right? So we have to look at Greece and Rome independently. They were highly warlike people, right? The Greek the Greeks conquered all the way from Greece to modern Afghanistan, right? They didn't show no partiality, like they were better than what we call so-called Germanic people. They were typical white people. They were just more sophisticated. And then by the time you get to the Roman period, look at how much of the world Rome conquered. Those white people. So what about the Greeks and the Romans separates them from the rest of Europeans other than their high civilization? What virtue do they have that that you'll say, well, I could date different people far as on the level that y'all try to say, far as wise being violent and all of that stuff. You know how many people the Romans enslaved? I think 30% of the Roman Empire was motherfucking enslaved. 30%. So
the Western imperialism we know today, they learned that shit directly. You want to talk about inheriting some shit? Western imperialism is directly inherited from Roman and Greek practice. If we're talking about inheriting.
So what they learned was in how to sustain an empire, like a lot of the tactics and stuff like that, they learned. But to answer Chef's question, something that I would offer as an example would be, sure, Greece and Rome and other imperialists were rampaging about. Most of it was tied to glory, right? Insofar as Germanic peoples, when they got the upper hand in the world, much of their conquest is pretty much tied to paranoia, um, paranoia, this desire to fulfill this thoughts together.
There is powerful niggardry at work here.
Well,
But
also
even,
we have to also acknowledge when we're talking about the West doesn't just stop at Great Britain, right? The West also includes all of the Latin countries or the Latin speaking countries like France,
Exactly.
Portugal, Spain, Italy, right? All of those Latin derivative countries and Latin derivative speaking countries, they also include the West, and they directly inherited the practice and brutality and behavior of the Latin civilization they all descended from, right? That they had a continuation of what Rome was already doing. And what they were actually trying to do is they were a bunch of spoiled children who was trying to figure out who's going to be the next Rome.
Right.
That's all Spain, Italy, France, and Portugal did when it came to the battles they had.
And England.
And England as well.
And France, too. And France,
yes.
right? Yeah.
But whenever we talk about the West, we tend to only focus on Great Britain, and we leave out all the Latin derivative nations.
No, I think
one thing they all have in common, brother, is this papal bull that authorized the conquest of other nations, the taking of the resources from a religious perspective, and that's where I'm saying this evil trumped their morality because they considered it obedience to God. So I don't think that this Western conquest would have popped up to the extent that it did without that papal authorization.
And that authorization was located where? In the Vatican, in the same place it came from. Whenever Rome adopted Christianity and formally became, a Catholic empire, authorization, it came from the Roman style of Christianity, Catholicism,
right.
Directly by the orders of the Vatican.
So this is what I say, Truist. Yeah, the Romans, they was just as wicked. They was wicked as hell too, right? But I always say that they was like Avon from The Wire, right? And the Germanics, once they took over, they're like Marlowe. So like, one's a criminal, a murderer, psychopath, all of that, right? But the one that took over, he took that same shit and cranked it up times 100. Now,
okay, let's do that. Who are you calling Germanic? Are you calling Great Britain Germanic?
Yeah. They would fall if we use a linguistic. If we go by linguistics, yeah. So Great Britain would fall in that. France would fall in that. The Visigoths in Spain would fall in that.
Linguistically, France would be Latin.
No,
if we're talking, I'm just being clear. If you're talking language,
yeah,
French is a Latin derivative language. Spanish is Latin derivative.
But they're German. But French
genetically they're German.
German. Yeah.
Yes, genetically they are German. But even my point to say when I even am bringing up Great Britain, I know English is Germanic derivative linguistically, and genetically they're German derivative because they're Anglo-Saxons. But I would argue that the philosophy and the ideology and the behavior is Roman. I argue that Great Britain's behavior displays more Roman behavior than it does Germanic behavior.
Especially the
No.
Mute out, Sunchild. Mute out, Sunchild.
In what sense you the imperialistic stuff or
Yeah,
something?
the imperialistic behavior emulates, the ambitions of Rome more than it does anything we see Germanic prior to Great Britain.
They had that behavior going on amongst themselves, right? Wanting to take over groups, and they had all of that going on even before, like they
I mean, think about this, Haskell. Every monarch in England tries to claim that they have some blood tie to Rome.
No, me and you on the same page as far as that goes. Like even today, even in academics, in every area, they like to tie themselves into Rome.
So
right?
I think they do that because they have the same ambitions as Rome. And even they recognize it.
Yeah, but all right.
So do you think? I have a question.
When the Romans first initially came in contact with them, right? The Germans, not the Germans, the Romans were pretty much able to subdue them. They were able to defeat them militarily, right?
Yeah.
But as is Roman practice, they normally don't look to like wipe out or annihilate people. They normally seek to assimilate, right? So what they did is they assimilated these Germanic peoples into the empire, into their ranks. So after successive generations, yes, there was almost a merging then, and those Germanic peoples became assimilated into Roman culture. And you're right, yes, they saw the world from that lens. They saw imperialism and the glory of imperialism as like the highest, virtue that a group of people could aspire to. So I'm with you on that. I'm just saying, in terms of depravity, now Chef will argue that it's due to them, developing ships and developing weapons that could take out a lot of people all at once, right? So he'll attribute it to technology. But whatever you attribute it to, in terms of the lethality, they took that shit up times 100. That can't be disputed.
Yeah, but I would argue that, for example, the Spanish, who I don't think the Spanish would be considered Germanic. I would argue their brutality.
The Visigoths would be. Remember, they ruled Spain, starting, I believe, in right after the Roman Empire fell, is the Visigoths who took over Spain from Rome, and they are Germanic.
But did they become the overwhelming population that, prevailed all the way up into, the conquistadors? Because that was going to be my larger point. I think the brutality we see from a Spain, we see from a Portugal in the New World, and even on the continent of Africa, it matches what England did as well. And
right.
I wouldn't consider those conquistador types to be Germanic. They're not of the same stock of European as a Benjamin Franklin.
I'd have to look that up. In terms of they were the ruling class, most definitely in Spain.
Right, and the ruling class would be the ones that are, carrying out the orders for the brutality we're alluding to.
You think you have to separate the Romans and the Greeks from the Germanics in the basis of their religious outlook? Christianity is fairly new to Rome and Greece. It's first century going up to the 4th century doesn't become really dominant. And I don't think the Romans and the Greeks used their religion as justification for their conquest. They may have done it for other reasons, not to the extent that the Germanics did. Once they got into the Judeo-Christian religion, I think that was their modus operandi for a lot of what they justified.
Well, that begs
as
the
virtue.
question. That raises the question I just brought up, Sunchild. Would you consider the conquistadors, the Spanish and Portuguese that find their way into the New World? Would you consider those types Germanic? Because they're the ones that came up with these race codes Cuban talks about all the time. They're the ones that came up with race formally being, introduced as a system in the first place. It was a Portuguese man. And they're the ones that use, the curse of Ham and the Vatican telling them that Africans are meant to be slaves. They're the ones that use that in the doctrine that, the British later, just picked up where they were. So that's what are the Spanish and Portuguese Germanic? I wouldn't call them Germanic.
Maybe even if they're not, what I'm talking about is the religion. Like you said, the curse of Ham. This is a Judeo-Christian concept, and that's what I think they use to justify.
Actually, that's a Hebrew concept. It's a
like I said, it's Judeo-Christian. So the Hebrew culture is still included.
Truth, I'd be willing to bet that the Hernan Cortezes and dumb motherfuckers, the ones who was in charge of shit, I'd be willing to gamble that their lineage was probably chiefly Germanic.
Well, what makes me question that, Haskell, is if that be true, right? We know these are the same individuals that was doing all the R wording, right? And when we look at Latinos, right, they don't have Germanic DNA. They have Mediterranean DNA. You see what I'm saying? They have DNA that traces right there to that region.
They got plenty of European DNA too.
But when I say Mediterranean, I am talking Europe. But I'm talking Spain. I'm talking Portugal. I'm talking, I'm not talking the Germanic DNA. So if these types that were the conquistadors were Germanic, as I guess we're suggesting, we should see that prevalent in the Hispanic gene pool.
It's called Iberian. When you
Iberian,
look at the DNA,
Iberian
Peninsula. Iberian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's Southern Europe. That's Southern Europe.
It's actually called Spain. The Iberian Peninsula is Spain. Like, stop playing. So this has nothing to do with German or Germanic anything. Like, I don't get that argument. Y'all making this up. I'm sitting here listening to this, and those Portuguese Jews, those converts, right, that are responsible for the slave trade, have nothing to do with anything Germanic at all. Like, they come out of Morocco.
No, but the Visigoths did take over Spain. You agree with that, right, King J?
The empire, they didn't assimilate outright. The empire is the empire.
Yeah, so
the people that carried out,
they didn't change the population. The local population didn't change.
And that was my point, Haskell. That the people that eventually come over and do all the massacring and brutality of indigenous people in the Caribbean and Central America, we know based off of evidence those people were not Germanic.
How do you know that? How many going off of genetics?
Yeah, well, genetics would be one contributing factor, but I'm saying also just based off of what we know about how they describe themselves, right? That these conquistadors were not Germanic stock, as a Benjamin Franklin, or as a because even a Benjamin Franklin wrote against the importation of these Europeans from Southern Europe to America. They said you would be blackening the country if you imported more of these Southern Europeans in here. So they drew lines amongst themselves. So I know they're not Germanic.
Okay.
I've been listening, but can I give my 2 cents?
Give 5.
All right. Yeah, let me give my 2 cents to the argument. While the common people were not of German descent, we can start see the marriage of those leadership class as early as the Middle Ages from Germanic princes and princesses in France, in England, in Portugal. So while ordinary people DNA may be that of the land that they occupy, the rulership class was always intermingling and intermarrying with those Germanic prince and princesses, right?
Oh, that's a great point.
Right. So while we might say the average conquistador was not of German descent, but the royal family was, and it can be traced all across Europe, up to the fact that even at its heights, Queen Victoria of England, all of her children were basically rulers of all of Europe. So if we go back in time and look at it, it becomes traditional that you no longer look towards your people, because who was in England or ruling England, we know that they're all Germans. The Mountbattens are Germans. They changed the name after during World War II, because the original name sounded too German. And if we go,
Corey actually showed me this a couple of days ago. But wouldn't this lean into? So yes, you're right. The Mountbattens and those are
all
Germanic people.
the princesses, as far back
They
as
actually wound up changing their name just so they can, could kind of like, I don't know about conceal, but they changed their name. But wouldn't this kind of lean into this being? I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
Because if we look at all the princes and all the royal houses and look at the intermingling, even the houses in Venice and all of the houses, as far back as the Middle Ages, because Persia and it wasn't in Persia and Germany, it was great. They were rich. After the Second Rome, that part of the land that we know as Germany, Austria and Persia, were one of the richest in Europe. And as a result, everybody wanted money. So they married into the German princes and the royal families and the leadership class. So the mentality.
But doesn't this kind of get away from it being like a genetic argument?
No, that further reinforced the genetic argument, because the leadership never put each other. If you have people in charge, right, and the mentality of them hasn't changed. Trump is of German stock, isn't he? Right. So I'm not saying I agree totally with Askell, but if Askell wants to prove a point that when you look at the leadership, when you look at them intention, and when you look at them money grubbing, gathering and resource stealing, it go all the way back from the fall of Rome, and then the Middle Ages, and at the time, and as soon as the Great Enlightenment happened, the princes were being exported as leaders throughout what was then the developed world. Are you saying that, Askell?
Haskell's not in here anymore.
Yeah, but if you look it up, choice, you realize when it became fashionable to marry German prince and princesses, early as the Middle Ages, right? So most of who was in France were of German descent, and then English royalty were marrying French royalty, who were of German descent until about the 15 or 1600, when they start directly marrying German princesses.
Got you.
Yeah, for the leadership class. But
wouldn't you also agree that despite who was in power in France, in Spain, in Portugal, they all had to answer to the Vatican. Now, England, Great Britain, up until a point did, and eventually did it, but as France, Spain, Portugal, they all had to answer to the Vatican, regardless of who was the monarch. At the point in time we're talking about, to be fair.
Yeah, but you have to understand, so the relationship, the Vatican was primarily after the Middle Ages. Because during the Middle Ages, the Vatican didn't have much power, because the land was too separated, and there were a lot of people was practicing their own religion. Right? But after the Middle Ages, then they come out, the Great Renaissance, and it was coming out, and the Vatican started to power up itself, right? Because the German princes weren't really following the Vatican, right? But remember, it grows from strength to strength, right? Like they had popularity among the French, right? Richard Lion art, the popularized the relationship, the religion based upon reclaiming the Holy Land when they had the Great Crusades. You know, they said Christendom must be saved, the great holy places, right? But afterwards it solidified because the Vatican was basically a political power. It was a political power. It wasn't a religious power. It was about money. And you can see it now when you go to the Vatican. If you look at pictures of the Vatican, you realize that these people weren't primarily about religion. It wasn't about spreading Christendom. It was about accumulating resources. If you're supposed to sell off the art and the treasures in the Vatican, it values trillions of dollars because it was primarily about money in the early days. The Vatican is the largest landowner in the history of the world, even today, right? Because it's about resources. It wasn't about Jesus Christ got nailed on the cross, but people believe that's about Jesus Christ getting nailed on the cross. No, it was about how can I use and consolidate my power, and I'm going to use religion as a tool. That's what it's about. And when
Right,
they
but
went to
wouldn't it be the Catholic Church's idea?
How they used to mediate and shit. I think it was the Dutch that Chef was talking about. Like when niggas used to like be beefing and shit. Like the Vatican would come in and be like, yo, you know, y'all tripping. Y'all need to be like we getting money. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Type shit.
yes. Yeah, we're getting money. They used to be the great mediator. It wasn't about religion. No, nobody tell
Right,
you
right, right.
that.
Exactly. So it wasn't about religion, but who are the people? The Vatican is the Romans. That's what we're saying. It's ultimately the people that regulated all of these fucking nations at the time were directly tied to Rome and
Yeah,
located in Rome.
yeah. Rome became the church or the great mediator. Because
Yes,
if
yes.
you're a mediator, Rome became the mediator. And they use God as justification as why them should be the mediator. And you know, everybody get a cut. The union get a cut, the boss get a cut, everybody get a cut. And them being a mediator allowed them to get a cut and they got richer. Right? When Rome collapsed and England rise, England became the banker. Right? England became the banker. So everybody went to England afterwards to get loans. And when England fall, America became the manufacturer. Right? So, but now America don't want to be the manufacturer anymore. They want to be a middleman. They want to be that person that allow goods to move and traverse throughout the world. Why do you think they build so much ships? To make water, to make trade safe. They want to do what the Dutch was doing and leave manufacturing to the Chinese. I don't want to do that dirty work. If I don't have to do the work, but I get a cut of everything that you're doing, I'm good. But it is what it is, right? The religion became the mediator. The English became the banker. But if I ask the question, where is the location of the Federal Reserve Bank? They have some. Where is the main location? Who's the banker still? It is what it is, right? But Haskell want to say that the Romans, that white people, that Frances Cresswell Wilson did have some credence to what she was saying. I wouldn't totally rule her out 100%. Because them people that is naturally, the behavior is unnatural. The behavior is unnatural.
Yeah, that unnatural thing.
Yeah, not natural behavior. Nobody should want to be accumulating so much wealth.
I
That's not,
say the same thing, Stupies. There's a lot of unnaturalness to it. Now, I'm not gonna go down the Francis Quest Welsing Road or whatever. I ain't mad at whoever if they do, right? There's a lot of justification. It'd be hard for me to argue with Haskell, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, what I will say is, I look around the world and you do see a lot of these different conquerors, I guess you would say, throughout the history of the world, right? And a lot of them comes from different places and shit. But it's I think the most has been done, at least by those who first of all, religion, the three monolistic religions have done more death and destruction than anything that ever crossed this goddamn planet, right? But when I compare like the Arabs and how they swept across kind of like northern Africa and eastern Africa and all of that, you know what I mean? It was pretty brutal. I'm not going to deny any brutality there, or you know what I mean. It's just a little different, and maybe because I'm living in the time, you know. It looks like the greed of the Western world is a global disaster. I think before we didn't have like the greed being a global disaster. But I don't know. Somebody could point to something, and I might agree with them. But it just looks like it looks a little bit different when it comes to the Western world. But
I
go ahead,
struggle
somebody.
when we forced to separate all of these conquests into which one was less moral or which one was more destructive. I'm gonna say that they are more destructive, and on the back end of however you try to describe, the scale of the destruction, you would almost just have to say that when King Charles and them was in their heyday, they were doing it better. Like their campaigns was a little bit more successful when it came to like some sort of a global operation, right? But I don't see Genghis Khan as being any more sentimental to his enemies than anybody else you want to mention.
Although that ain't, I'm not saying that at all.
I don't. But that's what it would have to boil down to when it comes down to like, just exactly what it is. It's a military campaign, or it's imperial expansion. So once you talk about imperial expansion,
I think in
I don't
his
know which
case,
one is worse.
yeah, I certainly think in his case, if he had the technology King Charles had, we'd be living in a different fucking world right now. I mean, what he did, I think that would be the closest thing to answering your question, Corey, of has anything else affected the world? I think, the Mongol Empire would be the closest thing to
They
answer.
just didn't have enough. They didn't have the technology to do it, but they would have done it.
And that's not true either. That's not true either. Two historical fallacy I have to push back on. Let me push back on a historical fallacy about the Arabian Empire. Arabian Empire. If you put an overlap of the Roman Empire and put an overlap of the Arabian Empire, apart from that portion in Europe, it's pound for pound the same thing. Many of these countries that were occupied by the Romans did not resist. Although they had forces that opened the doors voluntarily for the Arabs during that time. Right? So when people say, oh, it was a bloody conquest, 90% of it was not. 90% of the Arabian conquest of Roman land was not. And then Constantinople never fall until way down. when Constantinople fall to the Ottomans, who was part of the Arab, right? Persia never fall. That's Iran, right? So when we
That
look
was
at
just
it, yeah,
damn near
right?
historically.
Somebody breaking up. Somebody in the background.
No, I was saying the Ottomans was in modern times. What they
Yeah, but it's the same land, the same Arab land from the Arab conquest. They just change the name.
right? So you saying it was so you saying that it was a more non-violent than
Conquest, yeah.
the Arab
Yeah,
conquest.
he's he's
Non-violent
correct.
than
Than the
He's
Roman
correct.
conquest,
It's not
Mhm.
violent as in terms of, they gave people the option to submit or die. And most people, they saw what the situation was. They knew that if they didn't submit, they get obliterated. So yes,
yeah.
in most instances they submitted.
Yeah, I guess. And guess what? Early Christianity, first century Christianity didn't look any different than first century than first
Islam.
century Islam.
Yes.
Didn't look any different apart from the prayed 5 times a day. But trust me, it wasn't any different. A lot of people, the women, if you saw a woman first century Christian and a first century Arab, they dressed the same. They look the same.
Oh yeah, it was all Levant nigga. Obviously, I mean, great.
Right? So when people talk about Christianity and Arab, so most people never see them giving up much. Right? Because it never look much different.
No,
The men dress the same way too.
I was early Islam and early Christianity. I would imagine it did look pretty similar. Yeah.
To this day,
praying to Abraham. Ain't they all saying that
Yeah.
Abraham is my daddy. Abraham, my daddy. That's what all of them saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even see what to fight for. If everybody's saying that Abraham is my daddy, what is y'all fighting over at this point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And early Judaism look just the same. All 3 of them, the people them dress similar. All of them was because the time that they lived in, they had to dress in layers, in cotton, in layers to prevent dehydration. Right? The technology was similar. Right? Is when Christianity moved now to Christendom, and they realized that it's about power. They had changes. Was a change of doctrine. Early Judaism did not look nothing like the Judaism they're practicing today, you know. Don't let them tell you any foolishness, you know. Don't let the Jew tell you the foolishness.
So I think I've got 3 different answers to the question. The original question I asked Pascal is, what does he attribute this idea he mentioned of Germanics having the concept of evil as a virtue? I think I have 3 different answers based on the conversation we've had today. The first one is, if you will, just to be crass about it, a caveman mentality, right, which goes to the environment that they evolved in. And the second would be kind of related to the caveman mentality, the lack of resources. And then the third would be, well, yeah, right. Well, there's that, which applies to all humans, not just Germanics in particular. And then there's the third one, which is their religious, their religious culture of, obedience to God, as far as, spreading the gospel by any means possible in order to save the souls of the world, right? So they justify
I've been
their
having
evil
a
that
lot better
way.
luck with the Google AI, because that just gave you the two cradle theories from Di about 2 times in 3 bullet points.
So
That's exactly what that gave you.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. I'm
Cress
saying,
Wilson.
Google AI don't seem to be as fluky. I'm just giving you a suggestion because that was the two cradle theory, and we know that ain't. We know it ain't
Yeah.
got nothing to
Well.
do with the lack of resources and all that.
Yeah. Well, even in certain white supremacist circles, they'll use that environment to their credit and saying it's because of the harsh environment that they had to evolve in. This is what makes them different and superior. And then the flip side to that is this is what makes them more prone to evil.
Innovative.
Right?
They use it also to say that it makes them more innovative, right? Because
Yeah.
those harsh conditions put pressure on you to be innovative.
So how does that explain the most advanced ancient Europeans coming from the most tropical parts of the continent? Like the first civilizations in Europe arise in the Mediterranean. They don't arise in those colder climates. So if that theory, if that theory really holds to be true, we shouldn't see the first civilization springing out of the fucking Mediterranean.
No, them niggas still had African in them. You know what I mean? You talking about the basal Eurasian, right? We talking about these niggas who done went up there and then been trapped up there for some few thousands of years. The Germanics. He talking about the Germanic, not the basal Eurasians. You know what I mean? Cause them basal Eurasian, them niggas still has some African in them a little bit. They has some. I mean, it was North African, but it was African, all the same.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what I'm saying is whenever the white Europeans do form civilizations, they're branches of the people that already had civilization in the southernmost part of the continent. So if they have to give credit to any Europeans, it wouldn't be the ones from the colder climates. It'd be the ones from the tropical climate.
Well, when you once you be up in the colder climates, wouldn't you start to develop your own characteristics and shit like that?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is they didn't develop civilization until they got in contact with the Mediterranean niggas.
Right. That's fine. You know what I mean?
So what I'm saying is the theory can't be that the harsh climate forced them to become more intelligent and strategic when they only get civilization because the motherfuckers from Greece and Rome civilized their asses.
Right. I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So that that lends more credence, I would say, to Francis, whatever. God damn it, Francis Cress Wilson. I'm just saying the way
Yes.
I'm hearing it lends more credence to it. That's just the way I'm hearing it.
It does. And because truth, if you go back in time and look at England before the interaction with the Romans, there were a bunch of savages that built Stonehenge. Whether they want to be the English, Irish, there were a bunch of savages before the interaction between the Romans, even the French, even the Goths. There were savages in how Rome described them. Even the Germanic tribes. These savages.
To you. That wasn't nothing exciting for you, stupid Stonehenge.
No. Compared to what the Romans were doing. Stonehenge is an astronomical thing where them check sunrise and sunset, something.
Right.
But compared to what the Romans were at the time, it's like comparing space age people, aqueduct builders, city builders, stone mason, to people still working with wood. Right? Even when they went into France, it was the same thing. Even when they went into Germany, it was the same thing. But remember now, these people had a fight in them. I just put it, them had a dog in them. And you learn from your enemy. And then Rome got comfortable. And the internal fighting weakened them and allowed external factors to further destroy the civilization. But they wasn't saying anything before these Mediterraneans. And when I use the word Mediterraneans, I consider the Mediterranean basin, especially if we go back 5,000 years ago, to be highly influenced by the North Africans or the Africans. Because the North African and the early Mediterranean shared similar phenotype, even if we look at the skin map. The North Africans look like the Romans, and the Romans look like the North Africans, because we know that they used to distinguish blonde hair and blue eye as women as prostitutes in early time. You can look up that too.
Absolutely.
You're a woman.
You cooking, Stu, you cooking.
Right, because the other thing now, the Italian will tell you, say, the Italian were known as dark-skinned people up until World War II. Right?
And when they start after World War II with the industrial shit, right? They started driving cars and air conditioning and shit like that. They started staying in the house a little bit more. So you know what I mean? Yeah. The skin lighten up a little bit once you get the cars and air conditioning.
And the interbreeding that after the fall of Rome, when the Germanic tribes came down and interbreed with them, they couldn't get rid of the dark from them. Right? Although the Germanic tribe took over Rome. Because we know where the original white-skinned people come from, or light-skinned people come from. Whether we want to say it as fun, those mountains, those sea mountains, right? That's why when people say the Persians or the Iranians are white people also. If you look at them, if you take them nigger out of the sun, them look fairer than Kim Kardashian. Right, but nobody don't want to say that, right? But the African influence on the Mediterranean really boosts up civilization, and also with the Crescent Valley. Those three regions, Egypt region, North Africa, the Crescent Valley, and the Mediterranean, where civilization really exploded from. Not further up north.
There's a lot of culture in that Mediterranean that got lost too.
Right.
Even like the shipbuilding and shit like that. Like that, people don't. What was that? Was they the Philistinians or something like that?
Yeah, the Philistines.
The Philistines. That's modern day Palestine, right?
The Philistines originally came from the Aegean Sea. They were the sea people.
Yeah.
And yeah, they
had them boats.
eventually
They had them boats on them niggas. You know what I'm saying?
They settled in modern day Palestine, but you had Phoenicians already there. But yeah, the Philistines originally came from the Aegean Sea. They were the seafaring people. The Egyptians even talked about them. They called them sea people.
They the ones who that's what I was going to ask.
They the motherfuckers that kept attacking.
I need to get with Chefrin because I gotta ask him a question. But it's a different topic. But go ahead.
I forgot which pharaoh wrote about them, but they're the ones that kept attacking the Egyptians.
It was Akhenaten. Because they was attacking the what's the Turks? What was the Turks back in the day? Back before they was to the Turks.
Would it have to be Phoenician?
No.
Or the Hittites?
No. The Hittites. Yes, they were the Hittites. The Hittites, they failed because of the sea people kept raiding their asses and shit. So that must have been because the pharaohs was writing about it. They was like, damn, and they was their homies. They was like, damn, like these sea people, and they kept running in on Egypt too. You know what I'm saying?
Even in the Odyssey movie, when they were riding around going island to island, sacking people, they would tell the survivors, "Hey, tell everyone the sea people did this to you."
Yeah. There was no blonde hair, blue-eyed people in the time of the Odyssey. You know that, right? You know that, choice.
No, there was no
in the Mediterranean.
At best, they were brunette and olive skin, but that's at best.
At best, and not light skin, olive skin neither. Trust me, in the time of the Odyssey, I'm not saying that they're black like Sudanese, you know. They weren't that dark. But they more look like mixed girls. You know that look that mixed
Yeah,
girls
they
have?
look like North Africans, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
All of them in the area they look like
All of
North
them look
Africa.
like that. They all in the. You got to understand, like they only across the beach from one another, so all of them look similar, especially
They
at
would have
this time. You know what I mean?
they would have looked like some Cristiano Ronaldo looking niggas.
No, they're
At
darker
best.
than Christy. They're darker than Christy.
It would have been darker because they would have been had their shirts off and shit. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like they would have been darker. You know
yeah,
what I
those
mean?
been darker. Early Romans were no blonde hair, blue eye. Right? There are things like that either. But if you listen to some people talk,
Yeah, but I think Truist, this is the question I wanted to ask Sheffrin, but you may have some insight on it. I think that the Hittites was the first like democratic socialist society, bro.
What you mean by that?
Because like the way they ran their government, like they had like they had union workers, and it was like it was a sort of a hierarchy kind of but so like in Egypt in Egypt you know, like the painter he was only just above like a slave. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the people in there in Egypt that was making all of the art and all of that, the stone workers and shit, like they were only a class above like the slaves. You know what I'm saying? And but like for example, you know, I just use one example. I'm not trying to pick on the Egyptians or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of other societies did the same thing, but that's just an example. But in their society, in the Hittite society, right? Like that artist guy would be like kind of just below like a government official type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
It
the
was the same.
stone
It was the
mason.
same. I had to wait for you to finish, but yeah, you did get upward mobility from scribes. Like the scribes is definitely considered way above farmers.
No, the scribes were, but the stone
Right.
masons and stuff like
Oh,
that.
the stone mason.
Yeah. Now
I kind of took that. I took that as the artisan. Okay.
No. So the artwork, the stonework and shit like that, those people were just above slaves.
The quarry
You know what I
workers,
mean?
yeah. The niggas working in the stone quarry, absolutely.
Yeah. So but yeah, you're right. The scribe, he was next to the priest. Like he was just under a priest. You know what I'm saying? Like they worked very closely or whatever. But yeah, it was you couldn't graduate though. Like so, if you in Egypt, bro, like where you was at, that's where you was at. Like it was no really graduate. Now I'm sure somebody can point to some anomaly, but that was not how that worked on the regular basis. You know what I mean? Whereas in the Hittite community, there was upward mobility, right? You could move up in society. And like I said, the workers were more respected. And, you know, they'd had, now I think they had some slavery, but it wasn't like, it wasn't no antebellum slavery or whatever, the way they described it or whatever. But yeah, like so, you know, like I just thought like it was cool because like the workers had like a say in government. So they had like a representative in government, plus they were unionized and shit like that. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's what I want.
definitely
I thought Stefan know a lot about that kind of history, so I just wanted to throw that at him to see what he thought about it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. Based off of what you just described, though, like that sounds very democratic. if they truly did have, a lot of voice and say in government as workers, that's a democratic for sure. In terms of the economic portion you described, I mean, it sounds like a lot, more regulated and fairer version of capitalism we might even see today. But it's
Right.
But the fact
For
that
that time, it would,
Right.
for that time, I would imagine that's pretty social. You know what I'm saying?
it's definitely leaning that way. But if you still have to have upward mobility, it's not socialism. Like like upward mobility is not a thing in socialism because downward mobility is not a thing in socialism. Like, because if you have the ability to move upward, that also means you have the ability to move downward. And socialism is a society where everyone's needs and importance to society is equal across the board, no matter whether you are that, scribe or you're that military worker or you're that poet. Now that sounds utopic. I know, I get it, and that's why people have criticisms of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the minute you start talking about, generational wealth, that leaves the door open for generational poverty, right? When you talk about wealth inheritance, that leaves the door open for inherited poverty. So I hate to be that guy all the fucking time, but
No. You cool. We
Oh,
you know
no.
what I'm saying? That's not an issue, but I think that's the big problem with it. And I hope this don't derail what y'all talking about. But
No, go
I
ahead,
don't
brother.
think nobody's really talking about that socialism. Right. I think people are more talking about the I guess the programs maybe that you would get out of the socialism, not necessarily a completely socialistic economy
right.
where
Just some aspect.
the concept prevents you from having upward mobility. I don't think nobody is really
Right.
thinking
That's
to put
why
that
I
in.
say I'm not a socialist. I'm a mix. I want a mixed market, mixed economy, and I want more socialism in our capitalist economy. Right. But I don't want full blown socialism because I understand what it is, and in relation